Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Ranga? I am, of course, the magical Mr. Mephisto. Welcome to RantCast 48. We're going to be talking about Kharadron Overlords tonight. I've got with me this evening a fellow appreciator of alliteration, the hobby hobo, Hayden. How's it going, Hayden?
G'day. It's
Good,
going
good.
well, guys. Going well.
So he is
Happy to
coming
be
at
here.
us from the Underdark, or from the Upside Down in New Zealand. So yeah, you can see some video
Good,
lag
good.
because of that, but
Yeah,
um,
nah, we're deep in the colonies, gentlemen. Deep in the colonies, way down south.
which I only recently realized, or which I only recently learned, was that like you're still technically beholden to the crown or whatever.
Yeah, we are. Yep, yep. We are a constitutional monarchy. We're with a parliament and a prime minister and a governor general and all that shit. Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah. See, it just goes to show how much Americans learn about the rest of the world. Like nothing,
Yeah, yeah.
virtually
No.
nothing.
Yeah. Like I've actually got on a fun story about that already, which I want to go into.
Oh
So
yeah, no.
years ago, my oldest sister.
Rabbit hole
Yeah.
number
So
one.
my oldest sister. Hey.
I said rabbit hole number one, tangent number one. Right on. Let's go.
Yeah. No, this is just funny. So, like a few years ago, when I was a bit younger, because my oldest sister, she got me to wargaming. She's about 11 years older than me. So,
Mhm.
like, she was playing World of Warcraft once, and she was like on her guild and doing team speak and all that. And this dude had no idea where New Zealand was, what the fuck it was. It was some dude from like Minnesota or something. I don't remember. But anyway, like, so I was sitting on her bed while watching her play and having this discussion, and she sat there for about 3 hours describing New Zealand to this guy, and like she's like, right, cool. So New Zealand's a really dark and brooding place. And this guy's like, oh, really? Like, yeah. Like we have the North Island, which is all the civilized part. It's where all the cities are. Then we have the South Island. We've had to fence it off. And we put all the inbred people from the farms and we put them there. And every year we go down and have a culling. And I was sitting there like, what? And this guy was believing this shit. It was so funny. He's like, "Oh, so was that where like they got the inspiration for Gollum?" And of course, my sister just kept a straight face the whole time. She's got a great sense of,
Hmm.
yeah, it was fucked up. It was bizarre, but yeah. So there you go, Americans. That's some of your people. But I mean,
uh,
fuck, we have the same thing about in New Zealand, man. We have our fucking morons in New Zealand as well.
oh, I
It
just.
happens in every.
Ooh, Soren, thank you for the 9 month subs, man. I hope you have an awesome
Yeah,
night.
man. Good work.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, I did get the shipping money, which reminds me before we get too deep into this. There's of course
Yeah.
May. All throughout the month of May, I'm doing the new player giveaway box of Stormcast. Between 1,000, 1,500 points. It's from some of the Start Collecting and some of those sets. From what was the one with Night Haunt? I can't remember. So the Soul Wars box. So it's got all that stuff in it. It is intended for new players. New players, leave a comment on the YouTube video. Mention you're a new player. Mention you're interested in the giveaway. Give me a brief story about what's getting you into Age of Sigmar. I will also allow you to use the honor system because we all got those spouses, friends, cousins or whatever that we're trying to indoctrinate into the game because it is the greatest game in the world. Go ahead and
Yep.
you can enter on behalf of a friend. Don't be a dick about it. Don't just lie to me
Yeah.
on the internet. I will know.
Shitty thing to do.
I will know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just go ahead and leave a comment. And yeah, I will be doing a random draw. Lulu's gonna come in here and actually draw a name from a hat per request. So I'll be doing that during the ranties. That's gonna happen on Saturday the 6th of what is that, June? Whew, we're already halfway through the year. This is insane.
I know.
So
Yeah, fucked up, eh?
yeah. All right,
We'll
so
be there.
like I said at the jump, we're gonna be talking about Kharadron Overlords. We're gonna also kind of sort of revisit a topic I talked about a little bit ago with Marok Wolf. RantCast 23, we talked about gaming therapy and Beasts of Chaos. We're gonna revisit gaming theory. Gaming therapy. Hayden's got his own perspective here, so I'd love to get into that. But I'd say we start with maybe just a little background, a little bit about Kharadron. So you mentioned that your sister actually got you into Warhammer.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so fuck, how can I explain it? So yeah, so she's about 11 years my senior. So when I was a little kid, I grew up around Warhammer. You know what I mean? I grew up with wargaming. I
Mhm.
grew up, I mean, stealing the codexes and stealing the army books from my room and skating off to my room to hide and eat them under the blankets.
Mhm.
Uh, like she used to give me models to paint, that kind of stuff like that. So I literally grew up with wargaming.
That's awesome.
But I didn't actually really get started properly into actually playing any game until about, God, 2001, I think it was,
Okay.
when War Machine Mark 1 came out. And I played War Machine for fucking years.
Okay.
And then I just oh, yes, right. So what happened was that my house burnt down
Oh no, I'm sorry.
years ago. Oh, no, this was years ago. And funnily enough, actually, it burnt down the day after I found out my grandfather died. And it was the day before I was due to drive down to Gisborne, which is a small town on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand, to go to his funeral. And my house fucking burnt down around me. So I lost my War Machine army. So I got back into. So after that,
That's
and
just
after the
horrible.
flash.
Just like back to back. I'm sorry. Like, oh no, tell a funny story about
Oh,
Warhammer,
it's
and I'm
fine.
just sitting here like, oh, brutal. Like,
That's the way it is. But no, yeah. Then I thought I got into Warhammer Fantasy because I always wanted to build a Warhammer Fantasy army, but I never had the cash to do it because and Emily definitely wasn't wealthy. So I got into fantasy, but then and this was literally as the end times were happening. So I built up this huge vampire counts army because I was always a massive fan of undead ever since I was a small kid. But then Age of Sigmar happened, and at first I was like, "Fuck this! What the fuck?" They
so,
dropped the world like.
so you're one of
Yeah,
the
I
angry.
had a massive.
You're one of those angry grognards.
I was fucking livid. And then I got into 40k, which unfortunately was in its 7th edition, and that edition was a dumpster fire.
That's about
It
where
was
I.
literally.
Oh, go
Uh,
on. Finish your point here.
it was such a fucking bad edition. It was such a dumb game. Like, and I realized it like toward the ends. I was like, I was playing against guys who were taking like 4 to 5 different codexes to a game, and they had fucking Tyranids in their army, and they were playing Tau. I was like, what?
Mm.
This isn't, you know? And so I was like, nah, fuck this. But then I went down to Games Workshop in Wellington, and I was introduced to Age of Sigmar because the General's Handbook came out that year. And that weekend I played my first game, and I spent about $600 on a Beast Claw Raiders army. And that was me ever since.
So
But
you've been in ever since. See, I actually
yeah, I've been in.
I got out of 40k. I actually got out of 40k about. I think I played into 6th edition and I got out just before 7th ed. So
Yeah.
my journey is like a lot of folks where I went Warhammer Fantasy Battle as a kid up through high school. I went away to college. All my models got destroyed in a flood. So my grandma threw all my stuff when I went away to college. My grandma threw all my stuff in a storage shed, and that shed flooded, and so I lost all my.
No.
I had a prolific comic book collection. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like I had all the it was all gone, all of it destroyed. A lot of my I still have a bunch of my Rifts books from about that time period. Some of those I was able to salvage, but you can see they have like the mildew stains on them. The ones that I was able to salvage, they still have the mildew stains. So I managed to save some of those. So yeah, I went to college. 40k was the game of the land, so I switched to playing 40k. And I always there was always that like when you're in high school and middle school, like you don't really have like a huge disposable income. So like you really gotta like pick your shots. I played of course Undead. Then Undead got split into Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings. And I went with Vampire Counts. But like I had an interest in playing 40k then because I don't know. I don't remember things being so partitioned like they feel right now. Like I feel like there really is like a West Side Story style like rivalry where like 40k players and Age of Sigmar players are just like snapping towards each other in the streets about to get into a dance fight. But back then it's like, oh yeah, like 40k is like the other game that this company makes that I like, and I played Space Hulk and some other stuff. But no, I always so I didn't like. I was always more a Warhammer Fantasy Battle guy, but it wasn't like I had no interest in 40K whatsoever. So when I went to college, everyone's playing 40K. I have a job now. Like, okay, fine. I'll just go dump some money. I'll buy some Blood Angels because they're space vampires. It tracks. So I played Blood Angels.
Exactly.
Yeah. I played Blood Angels up through Mephiston. It's probably not a coincidence that my moniker is Mephisto, although it is from Diablo, where I've told the story about where my nickname comes from. But like and subscribe down below, and I'll tell you the full story again for my Patreons or whatever.
Right.
I went to So I skipped over to 40K. I played 40K. But until I was about 25, 24, 25. So, 20, my 20s, early 20s were all 40K. Then I moved, walked into the game store in the area to play 40K. Played like a couple games. It was the weirdest, like, out of body experience. Like, it is really difficult to walk into a game store. Well, no, it's hard to walk into a game store because you're like, on one hand, like, I feel a lot more comfortable now in Age of Sigmar. I could walk into any game store, I think, in the world and be like unfurl my Ossiarch Bone Reapers and be like, we want to play a game. And, like, I think that experience would be a lot more approachable. But the landscape of 40K at that time was, like, that was where, like, I guess I wasn't aware of it then, but I feel like that's where some of that sort of tribe think was beginning to start would have been that sort of mid to late, aughts or whatever. What was that, 2000 up to the 10s or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, I think that was that tribe thing. So I remember going in there and then, like, having to, like, prove myself to people. And I'm like, motherfucker, I've gamed, like, my entire life. I'm not proving shit. Like, and so I just, like, walked out and I lost the taste for 40K. And then I met a girl, started a family. That wouldn't have been that, like, I wouldn't have, like, parachuted completely out of 40K. I'd have kept trying. But, like, around the time you meet a girl and you start a family, like, you fall out of Warhammer for a while. And I got back into it about 3 years ago, 4 years ago about now. So, and Age of Sigmar was already a thing, so I didn't have that, like, where, that period where they blew up the world I loved. Like, I'm like, oh, they blew up the world. Well, that's kind of cool. So that's a little bit of my journey there. But you said, so you started with Beastclaw Raiders.
Yep.
But in Warhammer...
So in the
Oh, go ahead.
Eh? So in the first fucking, like, God. So I got into the game about August 2016, and by the end of the year I had 3 2,500 point destruction armies. All bought at New Zealand prices, and that's a lot of fucking money. But then, because, like, I don't know, I wanted to try something different. You know what I mean? I suppose it sort of, at the time, matched my personality, and I'm a big believer of, at least personally, of that, is that your personality can definitely influence what army you choose.
I think that's gospel. I think that's just the truth, man. You're essentially putting your personality, you're essentially putting yourself on the table in, like, a rather literal sense when it comes to Age of Sigmar, if you ask me. But
definitely.
So
so I had Beastclaw Raiders and I was playing them, doing okay at tournaments. I wasn't doing that great because of pretty much from day one we were playing. Like, so the story goes is that there was only me in Palmerston North where I live, which is in the lower central North Island, about 2 hours north of the capital. And then I was on Facebook one day and some guy was like, hey, I'm really keen on getting into Age of Sigmar. Does anyone play? And I was like, I play! And that was Sean Tubman from the Notorious podcast, which it wasn't around back then. So we got into playing Age of Sigmar together. And then after that, we went to our first tournament later that year. It was the largest Age of Sigmar tournament in New Zealand, and it was 16 players. And then literally in April the next year, we went up to 36. And it just kept going from there and there. So I played Destruction for a while, and then suddenly, which this may as well curtail into our discussion topic, the KO got revealed, and my eyes went, my dick went, and I was off. Do you mean I was, I had the most epic chub of chubs. It was bizarre. You know what I mean? I thought I looked at women in a strange way, but fuck. Whew, I was sweating. But no, yeah, so that video came up, the picture up, I was like, yep, fuck it, I'm playing this army.
It
was just everything about them.
What was it? Can you like quantify it now that you've looked back on KO? What was it that with KO? Because you said I think you mentioned death in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so fuck yeah, death.
Yeah.
But then it was like destruction, and like what was it about KO? Because this seems this is a fun little journey for me. Like
it's a weird one. No, I'm an all over the place dude. You know what I mean? I've got ADHD. I'm fucking all over the place. I'm literally a firecracker in a wet meat suit. So I'm literally just but when I see something that I like, I really like it, and I get really obsessed with it. It was just everything about them. It was the look of them. It was the lore. They were interesting. They were steampunky. They shoot shit. They're grumpy. I'm grumpy. They like money. I wish I had money. but like, you know what I mean, though? It was just everything about them, and I just completely fell in love with them. And also the fact that they were different from fantasy.
Yeah.
Where the dwarves were dying out, the elves were dying out, everything was doom and gloom, which I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of grim, dark, and depressing, because that's just me.
Right.
But it was the fact that these guys were prospering, and they were growing, and they were powerful. They weren't always on the back foot, which is what I really didn't like about fantasy lore, was the fact that everyone was always on the back foot.
Yeah.
Against chaos. Well, I don't like that. So
there's that finality, that finality, or that I think that just kind of can taint the game a little bit. Like 40K stagnated its meta plot forever, because if they advanced anything, the world just ends. Like basically Tyranids consume everything because like they were gonna win. Like hot take.
Yeah.
You can't go, like, I love the dark themes, but you can't go that like fatalistic. You can't do it.
No, you can't. Or else you're just going to end up being a Creed album. You know what I mean? That's
Creed album. Wow,
just
the deep cuts
wallowing sadness of just shittiness.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, so it's more on this point. I do think Age of Sigmar has kind of struck a balance between having that like grim, dark, gritty, things are kind of fucked, but like then still making their armies seem heroic and cool and like they're kicking ass and like
even though they're all doing terrible things.
Yeah, well, I mean they're like KO, or I mean that's that GW like spark, that's that GW cynicism and humor. That's just who they are. This isn't like high fives and daisies like the game. No, but I like the I like that they kind of have that like there's more of a heroism, I think, to the game. Even like Nagash and pretty famously, I'd say Archaon, like their tomes are just propaganda that like these guys have figured it out and what they're doing is righteous and awesome. Like even Beasts of Chaos, like their tome is like, we were here first, then all these assholes showed up and we want to burn it down. Like,
get off our lawn.
Yeah, like get off our lawn. And it's like, yeah, you're right, burn it down. Like I love that about Age of Sigmar, that like that it's not that, I don't know. I think that's pretty sweet. Real quick before we jump back on here, Ranga said something addressing what we mentioned a little bit earlier, which is personality is one of the biggest influences. It's why two armies may play similarly, but the player basis for the two can be very different types of people. Oh, 100%. Like I think you put your own you infuse your, if you want to just run across the table and scream, even if your army's more of a control style. Well, think of orcs. Orcs are a classic example of this. You don't have to play alpha with orcs, especially with the Warclans book. You can play a beta strike. You can play kind of a green carpet style control with if you go bone splitters. Like there's different play styles within that book. It's a very robust book. But a lot of people want to smash shit, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's part of what makes us such a fervent fan base is because we do get to put our own spin, not just on how the army looks, but how the army plays. So
Definitely. But yeah, I love KO. But I don't know. It's weird thing that I've owned a lot of armies in between, which is why I'm called the Hobby Hobo.
I see.
Well, what I call myself the Hobby Hobo. There's a bit of a story there. But yeah, I've owned heaps of different armies, but in the end, I've always come back to KO. Yeah, so they're my one love.
Your true love.
And Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, your true love. Well, it's like I always refer to it as having like a summer home or a vacation home. I think it's okay to have like a vacation home or a summer home type army. You know, you got the cabin up north that you go visit every now and then, but like your home is gonna, you know, usually people tend to have like that one army that just clicks with them, or they're in search of that one army that clicks with them, and then once they find it, then you're like, boom, that's it. But like you love KO so much that you actually started your own, like you started a podcast, or rather you wanted. I personally haven't listened to it yet, but you're about to make me a believer. AetherCast on Podbean here. Every episode is just KO. Like you have that much to say about KO. It's fascinating. But why don't you tell me a little bit from your perspective about AetherCast?
Yeah, so it started off because way back in the day when KO first came out, I looked on Facebook instantly looking for a KO page, and it was about 10 dudes there, and it was the first one. I jumped in and they made me the ad because back then we had enough people in the group then to do admins.
Oh, sorry, man, you cut out. Hey, Kicker, how's it going, my friend? Uh-oh. There's that upside down internet. Well, we'll see if he drops back in. Luckily, I've had this thing that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit here. So I was looking at Kyle from the Pants Mafia. He sent me a message today in just a DM, bringing my attention to the Azerheim Crier article today. So it's got like, you know, it's like a propaganda, like Warhammer community site. They kind of do these like weird propaganda things that are pretty rad. I like the humor of it all. So they did this one where it's like, you know, where's Malarian? We go on and like read it. It says, you know, Malarian has vanished seemingly without trace, so on and so forth. And then it talks about how like Eckhard Treska, the person who wrote the article, died and was exsanguinated, essentially, like died without any blood. And my brain immediately went, are Malarian elves going to be vampire elves? Because that would be freaking metal. Oh yeah, it gives like really good flavor and fluff and personality to the world there. We're gonna have to call him back, I think. But I got instantly excited thinking that it might be sort of like implying that it's that they're like vampire elves. Wouldn't it? And you could do this gold faction that people keep talking about, where they play order versus where they could be order or where they could be order or death. I think that'd be really sweet. Don't root good vampires with elves.
Look,
hey,
I'm back.
All right, yeah, we got you back.
I was just sitting there talking the whole story for like 5. Where did I cut out?
It's okay. I filled the dead air with my vampire elves theory.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it happened. I had no idea. New Zealand internet.
No, yeah, that's that upside down internet. Yeah, so you actually, where you cut out, you were talking about the Facebook group, you know, the size of the group early on, you were made admin. That's kind of where you cut out.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you want me finishing it, but essentially I brought in some more admins, guys who were very vocal on the page, guys who were either competing well or just were really passionate about the army. So I invited those guys in. Alexander Cron from CanCon fame.
Mhm.
I was that guy in the Twitch screen going apeshit when he was on game 6, about to win the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need this guy as an admin. So I did. I made him an admin. And then after that, we decided to make a podcast. And the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and again, you dive into like KO pretty constantly. So I have to imagine, how long has the podcast been running? First of all,
Oh, God. I think it's like, I'm pretty sure it's coming up to 2 years, eh? I
okay.
mean, I'll have to ask the guys because I've got a shit memory, obviously. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean that's a long time to be talking
I've
KO.
been punching the head too much.
So you're talking KO even through the sort of like the sort of recession. They're a capitalist
Yeah.
sky pirate types. So I think
Yeah.
recession's a funny turn of phrase for them. Yeah. So you play them kind of through this essentially right around 2.0 is when KO just
Yeah.
that was the problem. So but you were still covering them then.
Yeah. We've been covering them since, for a while. Because back in the day when I had my first KO army, which I had to sell later on, I did pretty well with them. I came fourth in an event, got best painted at that event. But I don't know. Like the army was, because the thing is that we're just a group of dudes who love KO, and we're so passionate about the army that we just want to dig into it because there is a lot there, both lore, models, tactics, you name it. But back then there was a bit of a problem because there was really only one competitive option, which was the clown car. But there were other outliers of dudes. Like for example, Cancron, his list was good. It was an amazing list, and it was different. It wasn't just like 18 Sky Rigger units, so 9 Ninja Riggers, 9 Sky Wardens. Had 20 Thunderers in it and a frigate, and some evocators. I mean, you never saw that shit. So we wanted to really dive into that. But because in the end, KO is going to stay. We know that because they're not just going to go, nah, fuck off.
Right.
You know what I mean? To the whole army.
Yeah, they're not going to get squatted.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the.
So,
I'm sorry. I keep stepping on your toes here.
No, carry on. I was done.
The KO is, I think they're really, for me, when I first started playing, I was still playing Grand Alliance. I was playing Grand Alliance Death because LOM the book hadn't quite come out yet. That book came out basically while I was building my army. So that to give you an idea when and Clown Car was the army. There's a bunch of the army, but in terms of beating my army, Clown Car was the army. And so so I mean, when they were kind of announced to be coming, quote unquote, coming back, getting their new battle tome, I noticed a bunch of Death players like kind of like clam up a little bit. They're like, oh no, not Clown Car again. And I was like, no, bring it on again. Like I'm ready. The whole reason I ran Black Knights was because of Clown Car essentially. So like just here's 20 wounds of 12-inch 12-inch can't fail a 6-inch charge like Black Knights. Just here you go. Like now you can't shoot my important shit. Like just gonna push this into your everything. I also ran 2 more gas and they blew up 26 Arcanaut Company. That was pretty fun.
Well, to be fair, back then they're like a 5-up save, so it's not that hard to do. But...
Oh no, but 2 models killed 26 Arcanaut Company.
That's disgusting. I hope you feel bad about it.
No, I don't feel bad about it at all. More souls for Nagash. G-Dad, thank you so much for gifting that sub out there. But yeah, like it was. Yeah, I mean, I view KO and when I see like an army that like quote unquote beats my army, there's that GIF from Kung Fu Panda where he's like, "Oh, the Dragon Warrior! Finally, our battles will be legendary." That's how I view, like especially like a rival. The KO essentially are a rival for my army at this point. They're, Nagash is perfectly executed like socialism, like. Whereas and KO are like ultra capitalist sky. Yeah. So it's
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, like it's weird though because I'm not a big fan of ultra capitalism on the political scale. I'm more of a God. What am I? The age-old question. You know, looking in the mirror with your fucking mohawk that's pink. What am I? No, I'm more of a social democrat. I'm not a democratic socialist, and I'm not a socialist. You know, so I like bits of socialism mixed with bits of capitalism because it's worked in New Zealand. You know, and
right.
that's all I can say as a New Zealand. So it's weird that I play an army of ultra capitalists, meritocracy, money grubbing fucks who love guns.
Yeah, but like
It's pretty much America in Age of Sigma.
yeah,
That's what it is.
KOR
Yeah.
America.
It's true. They love money.
It's
they
true.
love
It's
guns.
true. Yeah, it's
and
true.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying that all Americans just love guns.
No, it's
But
fantastic.
yeah, no, I mean they love guns. They're an oligarchy. You know all that shit.
they even
But
like have, they even abuse their own constitutions like constantly and like
yeah,
like
yeah, no, they
like
they warp it to their own
they're they're warping to
the ultra conservative one. Yeah,
they warp it to their own meaning.
Like yeah,
Well,
and then there's like the one borough which really likes to keep it traditional, and those are your evangelicals. There you go.
yeah. No, it's fantastic. This tracks. No, I think there's something to be said for we talked about like putting your personality on the table. Inversions of your personality are valid too. You know, like inverting one's like I usually take on like more of a heel persona and you know like evil, but I'm like a dirty bleeding heart like super compassionate nice guy. I find the humor in a fantasy trope where like you have this character who hates free will and like it's the Dr. Horrible sing-along blog where he's like mankind is a plague and I must rule it. like it just I find that funny. You know, like I just find that stuff funny.
Yeah.
Damn, that's cutting deep.
Definitely. But yeah, that's what I love about KO. But yeah, coming into 2.0, oh fuck, it was a fucking nightmare. I mean, the KO page before. I think that this happens with every single re-release of a book. Yeah, I mean, there is the camp that's really positive about it, which is the guys that I usually like, and then there's the guys who are ultra negative about it without actually seeing the book and having it in hand. Mm-hmm. And so we had dudes, you know, even very well-known dudes. I'm not going to call Tom out because I like Tom a lot. I like Tom a lot, but fuck, he's a grump about KO, and he doesn't need to be. But anyway, and and those guys were very vocal, and they still are very vocal. It's just their right, it's their opinion. I'm not saying that they're wrong. There was just heaps of that shit, and so I was deleting abusive comments almost on the hour from dudes who were just getting really butthurt about toys for soldiers, and I had to remind them so many times. Look, guys, we are a bunch of adults, mostly men, playing with toy soldiers, aka fucking midgets in armor, in a fantasy realm flying around skyships, and we laugh and we cry about rolling dice with our toy soldiers. Don't take it so seriously. There's really no requirement.
Well, like,
and these guys were just fucking losing it. Oh god! But then when guys actually got the book in their hands and they started reading it, they're like, "Oh, actually, this is actually pretty good." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Yeah." So don't be a fuckwit about it.
Well, like I go back and forth on this a lot. You know, they don't take it too seriously. It's just a game. Like I naturally take things seriously that I invest my time into, so I understand being emotional about it. So I do get it, but I as someone who struggles with constantly taking things so seriously, I started a podcast about games, and I'm heavily invested in games. I've made money playing in tournaments for like competitive video gaming. Like it's hard for me to remind myself it's just a game and to like step back. Yeah. The thing I usually the thing that kind of saves it for me often is telling myself that games should be fun and reminding myself to have fun. And if I'm not having fun, why am I committing to this thing that doesn't that I don't have fun with anymore. The League of Legends fallacy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like League of Legends.
Yeah.
I can have fun with League of Legends, but 90% of the time, I am not having fun playing that game. So why the fuck would I keep playing it? At some point, you know, like that, reminding yourself that you should be having fun with stuff. And, you know, you don't owe your time to any game company or any army. Like, just, you know, find what you love and play with it. And I understand man, I used to love KO and now I just hate this. Like, I get that. I feel that, man. I get the same thing happened to LON when they over nerfed GGR, and then they went through, they nerfed, they adjusted Necromancers, Dogs, Nagash. Like, they just went through. My entire army was just not, like, I had to go out and buy a whole new army practically. And I'm like,
oh, Jesus.
Like, like, I get it. I was just 3 months of just being the most morose human ever, because I'm like, I can't play the thing I loved the most anymore. So I get it. I truly get it. I don't have a solution. But I do think it's important to remind yourself to have fun. And that's just my only takeaway, is like, try to find ways to have fun. And where I draw the line is shitting on other people's fun. Apart from crushing you on the table. Like, I will destroy you and ruin your fun that way. But
that's fine. But you know what I mean? But, there is no need to be a dick to others, and that was the main issue on the Facebook page. Guys were just getting ratty and bitchy, and I don't stand for that shit. You know what I mean? I don't stand for bullying of any type.
Right.
And so, I was. But anyway,
Well, no. So now, like, KO, you know, you had this sort of dark ages, this dark period for KO there, right around 2.0's release. You know, this army was essentially bottoming out in the statistics too. And you know, there was some competitive things you could do with it, but for the most part, like, the representation wasn't there. And now the KO book comes out. There was that period of derision, like you said. Apparently, what the WhatsApp group was just chaos as well, with just this, like...
it was fucked. Because I'm on it, and it was fucked. It was a nightmare.
But now...
Absolute nightmare.
So you had this sort of dark ages, then you had this, like, sort of period of revolt, and now the book's been out for a little bit. We've been in, you know, our various states of, like, quarantine. So I feel like KO had just finally gotten out the gates. It was just, you know, CanCon. The KO book was legal for CanCon, as I recall. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So like you had, like, kind of these first early tournaments where KO was finally updated. They're out there. And then we kind of had, like, this false start. Now we're all, like, waiting again. Where do you think KO do come out? Like you said, what do you think, and what do you think quarantine and this time to just kind of sit here and think about them is going to do for them?
Yeah, I have had I've actually thought about that quite a lot, especially with the release of Seraphon. You know, those guys have had, well, I wouldn't say absolutely no chance because they've got tabletop simulator, but in the end, it doesn't truly matter until they're on the actual physical table.
Yeah.
I think KO have got a lot of legs, have got a lot of potential. The thing is with KO now is that, and what I think a lot of us as KO players have struggled to deal with since the first book, is the play style's completely changed. Everything about the army has changed. You know what I mean? No longer is it a one hit alpha strike and then just mopping up after. That isn't how the army plays. The army is, and this has been said many times by Vince Venturella, all these different dudes. Yeah. The army is a surgical knife, right? So you're literally trying to take. So this is how I assess it, and how I've been subsequently taught how to play the army by my mate, who is the only person in the world to take an army. To take KO to a first place, Sean Tubman. He decided to go to KO, much to my dismay. But so like literally, you have to take apart your opponent's army because you haven't got the power. Okay, because you've got a lot of firepower. You know, KO is a shooting army, but you don't nearly have enough of it to deliver that alpha strike. So you've really got to pick your plays, and you've really got to pick your deployment. You've got to pick where you're going to take apart and what you're going to take apart. So you need to focus fire a lot, and a lot of that comes down to positioning. Comes down a lot to your ranges, your your little miniature buffs that you've got. You really got to pick where they go at the right time.
Well,
and if you get that right, you're gonna do well. If you make one simple mistake, you're fucked. So it's a high risk for high reward army.
Well, it's a high skill floor.
Well.
Very, very high skill floor army.
Pardon me?
It's a very high skill floor army. I just said it's a high skill floor army. Oh no, are we about to lose you again? No, I think you're good.
Nah, I'm still here. Hi.
The other thing that you kind of were pointing out here is you have to know others' armies. You have to know what you need to remove in another person's army to make their house of cards fall down. And that's another layer of skill that not every army requires. Play the table, right, is usually what I would tell people to just... That's the first thing you need to learn how to do, is just learn how to play the table, right? Well, now you've added this another tier of, like, not only do I need to know how to play the table, the missions, my deployments, I need to know the go power of other people's armies now. Whereas, I play a lot of armies where, like, I have my game plan, and I almost don't even look at the opponent's army. I just execute my game plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to move here, I'm going to do that. Like, I just know, and then I'm going to close the trap on them. That thing could kill my thing. Okay, I'll avoid that thing. Like, or I'll lock it down with some, chaff or whatever. Like, and just like going through my game plan in order to maximize KO's power. It's not just this vague. This is my plan. Chaff that, beat that, blah blah. No, you really have to know the linchpins of other people's armies and what to focus.
You really do. So, like, one of the first things that you really need to do, because, I mean, it's still pretty hard to figure out what list is the best, and that's what I don't like as well, is saying that there is only one list. There is never just one list, because every single country's meta is different. You know what I mean? New Zealand's meta is different to Australia's, and both of our metas are vastly different to the US, the UK, or Europe. You know what I mean? Cool. So your list that you won at a tournament in New Zealand might not do well against a tournament in the UK. You know what I mean? Well, so I've been struggling to find a happy medium where I think a list or a couple lists well, and I've already made a couple lists. Sean Tubman made a fantastic list, which I've used a couple times. I haven't won with it yet, but that's just because I play with... No, I'm not, because my local group, we're a very small group of local dudes in Palmy. Probably only about 4 or 5 of us, maybe 6 of us actually play regularly, but we're all competitive players. I've got the likes of Sean Tubman, Seth Cook, aka Goon Boss. They're both, they're all masters level players, and I play against them a lot. So, so I lose a lot of games, even today,
Right. But they're also the best whetstones one could possibly have around to sharpen your...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I never care about losing a game, because it's lessons that I can learn for next time, and it makes me better at events. If I lose a lot of games back home, that means that I can use those lessons and refine the way that I use my army so that I can win at events, or at least try to win at events.
Right.
I've only proven that right once, because I only got 4th once in an event, because the last 2 or 3 years of my life has been a bit shitty, but that's a whole different story.
Right.
In the past couple of years, I've only been to one event, and that was it. Oh, I lied, actually, and one day with Beast of Chaos last year stage.
Well, it's all turning around now because you're on RantCast, so
Yay!
Yeah.
Life is better now.
Yeah, life is better now. This show about tiny plastic men.
Yeah, bro. I fucking love it. It's great.
No, I think there's some standout stuff in KO. I know the read is that it's kind of got like the one list mentality is something that's taking over. There is the list, quote unquote. That is a mentality that permeates every army, though. We all think that there's every faction and every player in this game thinks that there's the list. And I would be really I encourage people to maybe not focus so much on the list as your list. We do these like list review shows every now and then. I've been on a couple. I just did one with Brendan for for the tournament that we did the theoretical tournament that didn't happen. We did some list analysis.
Yeah,
and it's like,
cool.
You know, you can compare points on things and go, this is the best unit, right, in a book. You can we have a knack. Pardon me, we have a knack for doing that. But like sometimes you look at a list and you go, well, why does he run this unit? That's not the most ideal unit.
Yep.
And you can see and you meet these players who they take something that doesn't look like statistically is the best, but it fits their playstyle in a way that it gives them like power, like it gives them like some extra power piloting their list. You know, I like to use my Black Knights as an example. Like what I was using Black Knights to do, this is, you know, pre-Night Haunt and stuff like that. Like just pushing them into people's faces and saying, you're going to waste time over there. In an army that was traditionally very slow. Like, I mean, you know, so you look at it and you go, but nothing else in my army does that job. So I'm going to take Black Knights, I'm going to catch people out, and they're going to, for one calendar year, I saw the look of surprise on people's face when they found out their lances went to damage 2 when they charged. Just one entire year of people going, oh, it's, you know, oh, that was 10 damage, not 5. Like, just watching their face for one calendar year. I'm like, you know, you got to think about, like, how are you going to use it? Is that it's a lot harder to put that into perspective for people when they're building their list. You want to have a good core list, you know, optimal units, designed well, good synergy, so on and so forth. But at some point, you got to go, how am I going to use this list? And that's the unfortunate reality we live in right now, where unless you're on Tabletop Simulator, you're not getting in a whole lot of the how do I use it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I recently had the opportunity to play some games because New Zealand's just dropped down a lockdown.
Yeah, I saw your mocking and taunting posts and photos all over Twitter.
I didn't mean
just
it,
like,
I'm sorry.
Hey, fucking Americans, look at what I'm doing right now. Like, it's just like I think that was the exact words of one of them.
No, yes. So I had 2 games. I lost both, funny enough. But obviously that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Rust.
Especially because I play against competitive guys. Yeah, I wouldn't call it rust. I'd call me being an idiot. For most of the time.
All right.
That's the way it is. But the thing is that I used the list the way I was meant to use it. I remembered most of my rules because obviously I forgot some. And I did what the army was meant to do. It's just that I made some tactical mistakes, and I'm more than willing to say, yeah, I did. You know what I mean? So, for example, in my first game I was playing against Heed Knights, I gave him the first turn. I shouldn't have given him the first. Also, no, I lied. I took the first turn. I should have let him take the first turn so that I could have gotten more points. In my second game, I should have taken first turn and then moved on to the objectives so that he couldn't come up to me and smash my face and take all the... Because I was playing more tribes in my second game against 3 Stonehorns. It was fun. But no, yeah. But apart from that, I was more than happy just to get out and play some games and see my mates again, because I haven't seen them. God, I hadn't seen them for like 6 to 7 weeks. So, yeah.
See,
yeah, it was good.
See, I wonder. I'm at this point where I'm fantasizing about what those first tournaments and those first games are going to look like for people once they get out of, like, are people even going to care about winning? You know, like, even like most hard-nosed, some of the most hard-nosed competitive players. Obviously, if there's a win condition, I want to win. But like, would I even care? Like, at this point, I just feel like I would be happy to just measure where a model goes physically. like, oh man, like, and then to just roll like a bunch of dice and cast my spells. Like, I fantasize about just playing again and just being in the physicality and like of like a friend or a rival or whatever, and just like rolling dice.
Yeah.
Like, will I even care if I beat them? Like, will I even care, or will I be so caught up in the moment? I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you wearing a gimp suit in these fantasies by any chance?
Only about half of them. Only about half of them. But that's because I like the way the gimp suit brings out my eyes.
Yeah, there you go. You have to look for these things in a gimp suit. I like the arseless chat ones, you know, where I can just bare my hairy ass to the world and be like, there it is, deal with it. No, touch me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
No. I just I think that like well, gaming is, for me, gaming has always been like an escape. I say one of the reasons I love Age of Sigmar the most is because whilst I'm a serial escapist, I will read books and play all kinds of games. The minute I come home from work, it's headphones go on, music goes on. I just am, at all times I'm trying to escape reality. The reason I love Age of Sigmar is because it is an escape that connects me to people as opposed to disconnects me from people. The way all my other like escapist vices disconnect me from everybody. And we've had this sort of forced disconnect right now, so I just I think it's really made us appreciate things a little bit more. But like games have always been important to me, and I this episode's got I'll just hit the nail on the head here. I'll be on the nose about it, but like games as therapy is not. It is something that I am conscious of, that I play games and they make me happier. I play games. Sometimes things go wrong. I'm having a shit day and I'm like, you know what? I can't like beat up my boss physically. I mean, I could, but that wouldn't solve my problem. So I'm going to go play a game where beating up stuff does solve the problem. If my skeletons beat up their dwarves, then I win. And then I, like where you have these, where you're able to kind of project a little bit and you're able to like go and play this game and like just get out some of this, just get in a different headspace, really. But for you, like, I guess, I mean, you actually kind of pitched this topic, so I'm curious where, why you wanted to talk about it, what your experience is with it, that sort of thing.
Well, I wanted to talk about it because I saw a little bit earlier on. I think it was an Honest Wargamer or something like that thing. Talking about why people do play Warhammer and why they enjoy it so. And heaps of them, as in the vast majority of them, were talking about exactly what you're talking about. Either they've got some sort of mental health disorder or issue. Something's happened to them, and they use it as a means of therapy. And I thought that there's something, because it seemed to me that a very large demographic of our community do suffer from mental health issues or so on, so forth. I think it's a good thing that people are speaking out about it, because I mean, obviously, with me, I'm prepared to say this online right now. I suffer from mental health issues, even though I may not portray it, because I make a conscious effort not to most of it. But that's just me.
Right.
And I'm like you. I mean, sometimes the world just gets a bit too much, and so I have to jump at this very desk right now and paint my shit. I need to sit down and read a book on my phone, an AOS novel, or listen to an audiobook. And that comes from me as a child as well, because I mean, I didn't have a very happy childhood. So wargaming and just the very world of it, even though I could never afford to buy any models, really. I mean, I got the occasional couple when I did get pocket money, I would go down to the shop and get some. But apart from that, I just used to read my sister's old books that she left behind when she moved out. I used to read them, and it used to transport me to a different world that was away from the world that I was living in back then, which wasn't a very happy place. And so, but obviously since then, that's carried forward to now, where, but now that I know and I've been diagnosed, now that treatment hasn't really worked for me either. So I tried antidepressants. It didn't work for me. I tried going to a psychologist for free through my work, which is great. My workplace has always been a on the spot with support in regards to this stuff. They got me free counseling, but that sadly didn't work. I even tried electromagnetic therapy, where they were trying to rewire the pathways in my brain to try and stop me from sinking back into depression and anxiety. But it didn't work. So I've had to find my own ways of coping and my own ways of pretty much, self-treatment. And through that, it's wargaming. And that's why I always strive so hard in my wargaming, whether it be painting or playing, is that it's literally what makes me happy. and my son, obviously,
Right.
and my family. You know what I mean? Because we have a thing where I work. It's the 4 pillars for mental health, and that's spirituality. I already forgot them. Yeah, so spirituality, mental health, family health, and physical health. But obviously, even though my job requires me to be physically fit, I don't enjoy it. I hate exercise, but I'm fit enough to do it, right?
Yeah.
You know. And for spiritually, I don't have a religion anymore, so fuck that off. But that can also mean, but spiritual health can also mean having a hobby. I've got my family, I've got my son, and yeah, mental health isn't there yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not. Yeah. So I just think it's a good thing that everyone is being that a lot of people are being very vocal about it, which is what we need to have. We need to talk about this shit, or else people die. And I'm sort of take this into a very serious vein, but it's true. If people are bothered up, they fucking die, and that's not good. And we work and avoid that, especially in our community where it's a very social community, and we can work together to help each other. So if you do identify a dude who is going through some shit in your community, reach out to him, ask him, hey man, do you want to have a game? Should we have a hobby session sometime?
Yeah.
Because the way that I see it is that you're not, because a lot of the time people with mental health issues, they don't want to ask for help. And so if they think that you're trying to help them, they will say, no, I'm busy doing this or I'm busy doing that. But if you paint it as a war game, they'll probably go, yep, I'm keen.
Right.
And they'll come out with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's all over the place, but yeah, that's all I see.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me. It's not, it's not a lot. You're probably not surprised to know that it's not very different from how I grew up and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have a good childhood either. I escaped into gaming. That's what I did. I wrote stories and I consumed stories. That was anything that wasn't where I was. I had a particularly bad week this last week, and I had committed to early on. I mean, this is pre-RantCast. This is as a Twitch streamer, just a general Twitch streamer. I had committed to this to mental health visibility as a cause. I don't know. It seems weird to call it a cause, but just as a choice. Because I saw other folks in actually the D&D community, kind of adopting, mental health visibility as like I don't know, a cause seems like the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. It's hard because there's a stigma around mental health. We have this notion for some reason that your brain isn't a physical component of your being, which is always weird to me because it exists. Just like I can get a broken bone. You don't see my bones, but they're every bit as physical as my brain. Like, the difference is we don't wear a cast on our head when we're struggling with mental health, where you wear a cast when you've broken your arm. That's how people know you broke your arm. So the only way anyone's going to know something's going on in your head is if you say it. And then it's hard because you don't want you don't want to burden people, and you don't want to like you don't want to feel like you're whining, and you don't want to feel like there's all these things that like when you're in that like when I'm in that mental health space that I get into, I have depression, anxiety. My mom was bipolar. I feared for a long time I was bipolar. I was never diagnosed with bipolar. Just good old depression and anxiety and insomnia. I don't take meds because for my insomnia I have to basically double dose, and there wasn't a combination of drugs they could put me on where I didn't feel like I was in a haze every day. And it was bad. I tried through my college, and my mom tried counseling and stuff in high school, middle school. My various aunts and uncles that ended up inheriting me all tried that. When I got into my 20s and I was in control, I did therapy myself, and then I tried the meds finally, because I didn't want to take any like pills when I was quote unquote a kid still. I made that decision young. I'm like, I don't want the drugs. See if my brain just corrects itself. Well, my brain didn't correct itself. People who experience trauma, especially at a young age, you just don't, you don't just like snap your fingers and trauma goes away.
Nah.
So like, you know, I have to do a lot of other stuff to compensate for the fact that like I should probably be on meds at this point. And and I got into this spiral this last week because I can kind of feel them coming on. Awareness of my moods has been one of the best things I've been able to do. That's, you know, the healthiest stuff I've taken is being able to identify when I start to you know, feel the anxiety coming on, and I start to feel this. Lately I've been disassociating, I guess. That's my new that's the new therapy. That's the new thing a healthcare professional told me about. So I guess I disassociate. It's also known as the Matrix effect, or feeling like when you feel like you're in the Matrix. And you know, I had a big, this was my big Twitter outburst this last week, was, you know, I have this, I look around and I see everyone, you know, coping and having fun still, and I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm having fun because I feel like I'm in the Matrix right now, and nothing has any meaning because I'm in the Matrix. I'm a robot just staring at the world that I'm not a part of right now. And so that was like, you know, that was the big post I made, and like how I just don't feel right. I often poetically refer to my depression as the void or the abyss interchangeably. You know, I feel the void coming
It's
on.
a pretty accurate description of what it is. You know what I mean? Because I've always found it really hard to describe depression to people who've asked. Because, I mean, like, I came out at work, which is a big thing at my workplace. I work in a very masculine place. Where mental health, even though they always bang the drum about mental health awareness, like, you go back to work after this big brief, and the guy's going, fucking this and that. They're all just a bunch of pussies.
Well,
blah, 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 blah.
you're a pansy. You're a fucking pansy if you admit that you're depressed. No, look, you're a sissy. Like, you're just, like, you're depressed. You're supposed to man up and just like soldier on, right? Like, you're supposed to be tougher than that. You're supposed to,
Well, I mean, because like but the thing is that mental health is a big thing where I work. You know, there are a lot more guys than they think that have mental health issues, and so they're really. But things that, but now obviously the government and my employer is starting to really bang down on it. And we had this big brief with the whole bunch of guys with pretty much all of us, and one of my bosses got up. He's a big muscly man, huge dude, does CrossFit, bald, angry looking. Like, honestly, if he smiles at you, run, just fucking run, go. You know, he's gonna do terrible things. You're gonna know it. But he gets up and he starts talking about his stuff and his issue, and all of his life problems and all stuff like that. And he was crying, for fuck's sake. So I'm like, this is not the man I know. This is not the man I remember from when I first came here when I was 17. You know, like, and so, but then that gave me the courage to stand up. And I pretty much said my piece in front of about 200 people about me and it was more to talk to the guys in leadership roles, because I identified there was a bit of bullying going on, and they don't. But obviously, where I work, it's seen as banter. You know what I mean? It's just fair enough. You know, banter is banter.
Yeah, banter's fun. I mean, I engage in banter myself.
Yeah. I mean, but it was getting to that vein where it was bullying.
Yes.
And I could see in the faces of the younger guys I was working with that it was starting to affect them. And I was like, nah, fuck that. It's not happening. So I put down my pick, you know, because I used to get picked on at work for the way I am, not because I'm depressed. They all know that now, but back then they didn't. So I pretty much said to them, look, you know what I mean? Those of you in the leadership roles, you need to think about what you're saying to these younger guys, because we're going to start having suicides if you don't. And everyone was quiet. You know, nobody said a fucking thing. And I didn't hear anything bad about any of it for the rest of the day, which was really good. So yeah, but no, yeah, there is definitely still a stigma, because I know for a fact that behind my back, guys were talking about it, saying, "Oh, fucking, you know, he's a bitch, whatever, blah blah blah," and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? And to like assholes, everyone has one, but yeah. It's
Well,
all good.
my personal stance on that is it's not for you. If your reaction to me being visible with my mental health is like fuck that pansy or whatever, and like keep scrolling, like my
Yeah.
posts when I share my models and when I make the funny joke or I have a dank meme, and scroll past the stuff when I'm talking about my mental health. But there's people
Yeah.
who need to see it. Like when you saw this swole, CrossFit, bald, like just mountain of a man cry and
It's
confess.
terrifying.
Yeah, like
Fucking
imagine how many people that helped, though, right? Like,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I
Exactly
that's I mean that's part of when I saw members of the D&D community like doing their mental health visibility. And I chose early on like I'm not gonna hide that because it's also like I'm hiding who I am. That's another thing is
Yeah.
like for a long time like I felt like my depression is essentially just part of me. It's the reason my humor is so like dark and sarcastic and
Yeah.
like
I'm exactly the same. Yeah.
yeah, it's the depression's part of it. And like I think I'm fucking hilarious, by the way. I would not take that away. Like like me without my sarcasm and like who even am I anymore? Like that the coping mechanisms I learned because of my depression. Would I even be a gamer if I didn't need to escape into like various like RPGs and video games and war games? Like would I even be a nerd? Like I love sports now that I'm an adult, but I didn't like them when I was a kid. I probably would have just like played sports and had a really surface level, interactions with people and never really found those deeper introspective parts of myself that I had to when I'm sitting alone, depressed and anxious, and I don't feel like doing anything and I don't want to talk to anybody. Like I probably wouldn't have found all that stuff about me. So like on one hand, like in my case it is depression. Like it starts to feel like a companion. Like you don't always like your companion, but like someone's got to ride shotgun, right?
Yeah. Exactly that.
I'm not trying to be like I'm not trying to say hey if you're depressed just like fucking deal with it. And that's not the read here. It's just it started to feel like a part of me at some point, and so like it's been so long that I almost it's just there. But one thing that happened this last week when I did my visibility thing is I got a bunch of people messaging me. I got DMs, some advice, some people just saying simple stuff, just like, I see you, you got this. That I'm probably today. I kind of came out of it today. Was this most recent spiral? I kind of came out of it today. I don't think I'd come out of it today if it weren't for everyone reaching out. I think I'm still weathering this most recent storm for another week probably. If I didn't say something and if people didn't reach out back to me. So I mean this community has I think a well of compassion, and
it really does. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
Because everyone's because even though there are some assholes, I've got a couple for fucking name. It's I'm not, don't worry. But actually, one of them's an American. I hope he's listening. If you're listening, you're a fuckwit. But anyway, sorry, I lost my kind of thought. No, but honestly, it's just because, like, especially the Age of Sigmar community in New Zealand, it's just so welcoming. It's so open. I mean, there isn't that air of arrogance that you get that I sometimes picked up of 40k. I mean, that's not true of the New Zealand for 40k scene, but there are a few people in that community that are just fucking toxic.
I mentioned the 40k prove it thing. Like when I walked into that store in Greenfield, Wisconsin, like this like prove it, and that could have been just that store, but I'm like I gather from other folks that Dreamer shows up. He says Hayden loves raw potato. That is all.
Oh, fuck off, Cameron. Jesus, don't get me started.
Unbelievable!
Unbelievable. Thank you so much for that follow there. Yeah, no, I think, again, like I said, and when you know that people are compassionate, then the banter you can have that banter without feeling like you're all being the bully. Like, you have to build that rapport first, and then, like, you joke. Like, me and Jacob Berry, we have our what was it the one the other day? Like it was just like 3 real quick Twitter posts and gifs, and someone was like, "Wow, that was like straight fire." Like immediately, and then it just like the most chill. Like what the hell just happened? I'm like, that's our thing. Like we just we bust each other's chops immediately, and then just like give high fives afterwards. Like, but that's because we built that like compassion.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't fuck with you unless I've kind of like learned to learn
same.
who you are. You know, like and then usually it's like usually I'm just making jokes that you yourself make about yourself, and you learn people's thresholds and stuff like that. I mean,
well, because like for example,
no, go on.
okay, like for example, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm a very angry person, and in the past I had a very bad problem with violence. I was a very violent young person, and I still am in some ways, not to the extent that I was, but so I've learnt to keep that under check, and especially at wargaming events, because I mean I've only had 2 bad experiences at wargaming. Sorry, for Age of Sigmar. I had plenty for 40k, and even more for War Machine. But I've only ever had 2 for Age of Sigmar, and one of them, the main one that I always cling to as what not to be, it was an American dude. He moved over to New Zealand with his family, and like I got to the table. This was at Masters 2017. I think it was. Was it? Yeah. It was Masters 2017. And I was there, and this dude plops down his army. He's this thumb-looking motherfucker. You know what I mean? Just this bald, ugly, like fucking 15 chins. Like if he jumped up and down, he'd start an earthquake. You know, God, he was disgusting. But,
just,
you know,
like full on describing Nurgle, like
yeah.
like
have you ever seen Spy Kids? Like
Spy
that
Kids,
shit,
not
the
for
old...
a long time, but yeah, I've seen Spy Kids.
Okay, well, there were these minions called Thumbs. They were literally thumbs. Like
Robert
like
Rodriguez did Spy Kids, as I recall. Robert Rodriguez.
He literally was a thumb, and like this dude was, oh god, but like he puts on and goes, "Hey there, my name's blah blah blah." And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he tried to strong hand me, and I was like, "Nah, mate." So I fucking squeezed his hand real hard. And he immediately goes into this tirade about himself, doing like, "Oh, I was in the 101st Airborne for 19 years." And I was like, "Oh, yeah? Cool." I said, "Oh, yeah, so did you ever deploy?" He goes, No, I never deployed. No. I was like, "Huh. When were you in?" And the years he was in was during the Gulf War and the War on Terror. So I'm like, okay, so you're just a piece of shit soldier. So you never deployed anywhere, piece of shit. But anyway, and throughout the game, he was questioning my rules.
Dear Mr. Thumb, thank you for your service. Go on.
Fuck, he was an asshole. But anyway, he was a dick. But like anyway, like he was questioning my rules. He was questioning plays, and I was fucking explaining it to him every time. I had to give him my battle time 4 times for him to read the rules because he questioned. And I ended up just giving up, going, "Nah, fuck it. I've had enough of this game. This guy's just a piece of shit." And in the end, I lost, and I just didn't give a shit. Fuck. He's just a dick. And the same guy almost got into a fist fight with another American guy who I play against a lot. He migrated over to New Zealand too, and he's a great guy. His name's Seth Cook. And he almost got into a fight with this guy at an event. Like, almost had a fight with him. And this guy ended up getting forced out of the community because he was such an asshole. And it's like, but that was it. That's the only time I've ever had a truly bad experience in Age of Sigmar was with this one guy. And I think that's telling for a community when you've only got one instance of a bad cook. I mean, yeah, sure, we've got other bad cookies, but they're usually tolerable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've had one objectively bad game of Age of Sigmar where I would have rather not have been playing Age of Sigmar. But for the most part, and that wasn't even really the guy's fault. It was like he had some RL stuff going on and it was bleeding into the game. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, if you need to like take a call, this isn't that important. I'd rather you just like commit to one or the other. I'm not gonna hate you, but like this, like, that was the only experience where I'm just like, you know, I it's to the point where like I apologize when I pull out my phone because I keep, you know, I use his ear a lot more these days. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like I'll say like, oh, I'm not texting or anything. I'm just looking up a rule. Like I'll like tell people that because I don't want people thinking that I'm that dick who's like just texting people while I'm like playing a game. I don't know. It's like yeah. So I've got like one story and it's not even that remarkable. I'm sure. You know, in the infinites of reality that there are some just pure dick bags that play our game because there are in everything. But
You really do.
I've managed to dodge
Including,
them. I've managed to dodge them for the most part.
yeah.
So, and I've made more friends playing Age of Sigmar in, you know,
Same.
1 year of tournament
Yeah, because
play.
like I'm only. Sorry, yeah.
I said in 1 year of tournament play, I made more friends in Age of Sigmar than like, I don't know, 33 years of everything else. So
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Always found it really hard to make friends as a kid. I mean, I do have friends from outside of wargaming, but I don't nearly have as much contact with them as I do with my mates from wargaming. To
add, he got mad at his own kid who beat him in a competitive game. Oh. Well, like I get the like I am a dad. I understand that sort of like parental shame when your children finally like one up you. But like you can't be mad, you know? Like I mean you can be mad, you can be whatever you want to be. But like I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, you know, finally, my son, you have ascended. You know, like I would just like good. I have been shaping you for this moment to take over the world and now you are finally ready.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm the same, yeah. I'm exactly the same with my boy up until the day he stops shitting his pants.
Of course I am also very antagonistic of my my kids when we're playing competitive stuff, but it's the same sort of showboaty like fun stuff, you know, where it's not like I just dunk on my son, like I lower the hoop, you know, like our basketball just so I like can dunk on him over and over and over again, but like he was you know, we were play wrestling the other day, and and so like then it's just like what did it man, like he said something and it was such surprisingly good smack talk. I was just like, oh, like, but in a way that like a 7-year-old, I'm just like, oh, my son's got the gift of gab too. Like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, way to go, dude. And so then we just like we wrestled around a little bit, and you know, but man, he like it was the opposite experience where like he wanted me to continue to body slam him, and I'm like, I'm getting out of shape, can't.
You know, I find that even today with my son. I mean, he's turning 3 in August, and whenever I play with him, you know, because I mean, I'm a reasonably fit dude, but fuck, it's hard to keep up with him.
Oh,
you know, he's
endless wells
of energy. I'm like, yeah. Jesus, come here! And he's like,
yeah,
he's like me, which is the best thing, but because he's gonna be quick as fuck and catch him.
Yeah, they never fucking run out of energy. I'm like, you're still not tired. Wow. I wish you could bottle that. Whatever that is that makes kids have constant like speed and energy. Like if we could just get some of that in Red Bull. Maybe that's what Red Bull is.
Yeah, definitely. I fucking love it.
There's just like some Skaven lab that's like extracting child energy. Bottling it in Red Bull. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. So kind of going back to like this Age of Sigmar, mental health and stuff like that. I think you touched on something a little bit earlier where you said there's a lot of people in our community that have some mental health issues. And I think it comes from that fact that like our community is made up of largely two demographics. Either folks who were socially marginalized in some manner or some outcast status, which probably isn't a happy upbringing, you know, nerds, or veterans. And so you've got like, and veterans have a well of trauma as well. You know, I mean, heck, basic training is practically trauma. Like you're being broken down to become a soldier, right?
I wouldn't say basic training is trauma, but things that I've only really, eh? No, no, I've only actually met a couple of actual veterans that play war games. Very few in New Zealand actually, as far as I know, actually do, and even fewer active service dudes. I mean, I'm not too sure what it's like in the US because, the US military is fucking massive. So no doubt you're going to have heaps of veterans over there that play war games.
A lot of my good friends are like. I mean, from the Midwest perspective, where I am in the U.S., it's like a 50-50 split. Like chances are, like, yeah. I mean, David was in chat here a little bit earlier. He's a veteran. Two Davids actually I know that are veterans. Like even within like my core gaming group, it's like, I mean, directly, I mean, it's probably an aggressive estimate, but it's got to be like close to half. It's up there. So, love you, Frank. Yeah. How's it going, buddy? Yeah. So I think that those are like the that makes up our core group, and I think that there's something to the escapist nature of war games specifically that just appeals to that appeals to us.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense because I mean, like in the end, in the military, especially if you're on a long haul deployment, you need something to pass the time, man, because or else you're gonna go fucking nuts. I mean, there's only so many hours you can spend masturbating in a room. You need to go out and actually do something.
Right.
And so, but hobbies are the thing that, as you say, it's a great thing for mental health, especially amongst veterans, because a lot of us, at least a lot of veterans, because I'm not a veteran yet, I'm just a soldier. I'm still active duty in New Zealand, obviously. But yeah, fucking like, I don't know, like, it gets to the stage where like, if I'm on exercise and I'm like, I get to the stage, I'm like, fuck, I want to paint some models, man. Covered in campaign, like, I want to do something, because we're always used to doing something, and that's why boredom. We don't like being bored.
Well, boredom's the mind killer. That's just the way. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We need something just to fill our minds for a bit, and that's why I think a lot of veterans maybe do go for gaming, as well as being the therapy part from post-traumatic.
I know, and this is just my nerd circle, so obviously it's a smaller sample size than anything. But one of my buddies, he's just known by. He's one of those people who's known by his last name. He was. Yep. He is an utterly fascinating case study, but he's a Twitch streamer too. He joined the military, and he had been playing Rifts, which is an RPG game with my. He was kind of one of my core high school gaming groups. So I ran him in PFRPG and Rifts. Almost, I mean, those are like our two main games growing up. He joined the military, and he took RPGing with him, and he got like a bunch of people in his troop gaming, and like for a while there, his core group of gaming was just veteran gamers. I mean, for RPGs now, and and I can imagine like RPGs. I'm going a little bit off the wargaming path here, but I can imagine RPGs that also being really engaging or really awesome for veterans too, because you can do that with like even less,
exactly that. Yeah.
How's it going, Fluke? Yeah. So I maybe RPGs don't resonate quite as much because they are more cerebral and internal, whereas with war games you have something of physical expression. So I don't know. I would love to see I'm not a psychologist. I would love to see some case studies on like gaming and mental health. Like I just the one I read recently was about autism and specifically Dungeons and Dragons. But I extrapolating from like how D&D is sort of helps teach empathy in a sense, because you're pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're pretending to interact with other people, and most of the way you succeed at this game with rules is by interacting. And so like where some people are like deep enough on the autism spectrum where like they understand everything, right? But like they just they have to codify stuff, and so like social situations don't really have rules. It's all nuance. It's all but now you have a game that puts rules on social interaction, and then they start to, it helps them develop. So that was a really cool study.
Yeah.
But nothing on specifically like gaming and depression or mental health and gaming, and let alone veterans and gaming. But I'd be fascinated to read anything like that.
Same. Yeah.
Believe it. Yeah, so Fluke showing up here. Isn't there a photo of Americans on deployment playing Warhammer with rocks and dice? I believe it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if it was Americans or Brits. But there is somewhere, I think it was from Operation Desert Shield, when, so they're under a tent with a bunch of rocks. Show that on the border with Q8, Iraq.
Right on. That's got to be a pretty rad photo. But all right.
Yeah, it's around somewhere from fucking like 1991 or something. Before I was even a glint in my father's eye.
So is there anything else you want to mention with the gaming therapy before we get back to talking some KO here, maybe?
Nothing really. Just a reminder to everyone: talk about it. Don't be ashamed of yourself. That's all I can say.
Right on. All right. So I know it's a little bit of shifting gears from a heavier topic to get back onto something a little bit more lighthearted. Thank y'all for.
That's cool, man. I'm all for it. Let's go.
Right on. So with KO, is there? You mentioned that like we were talking about like the list thing there for a little bit. What is something that like stands out to like new KO, right?
So what stands out to new KO?
What's the main? You mentioned that they play totally different. What's the main gear that shifted? What do you think? We talked about the precision. You need to, let me put this a different way. With a lot of the Chaos factions, you tend to see them go back and forth on this pendulum. Mortal is good, Mortal is bad, Demons are good. Demons are bad, Mortals are good. And it just kind of, that pendulum swings back and forth every so many years. And that's kind of one of the major shifts that you see with Chaos. That, like one day, I think in general you can see, hordes were good, right? And shooting it's good. Like, what is the shift that happened in KO? Because you really just have, from the layman perspective, my perspective, you have dwarves and boats. What was the shift?
The shift was like even just from making your list. I mean, like, because as I said, like, obviously this is just me competitively, not just your normal games. Even though it's kind of shitty to say your normal games, your casual games. I don't actually really believe that. I just think everyone plays games for the fun of it. But competitively, if you're talking about lists, so you're not taking as much of one thing as you used to. So you're diversifying a lot. So, for example, you're not going to see, a lot of the time, you're not going to see big blocks of dudes. You're going to see either min-max or medium size. So, for example, in the list that I was talking about before, Sean Tubman's list, there's a whole bunch of Arcanauts, but they're not in big units of 40. So it's like 1 unit of 20 and 2 units of 10. And that's to fill out the board press. You've got a big unit of 9 engine riggers, and to be honest with you, that list is the most I've seen of any units of engine riggers. You're seeing the Thunderers now because they're good. Obviously, you're always going to see an Ironclad, and you're actually seeing Navigators now because they half move to any flying units, and there's a lot of flying units around. You are still seeing Chemists because, like, back in the day, it was like you'd spam like 2 or 3 Chemists just to get the +1 attack.
It was just Chemist and Arco as far as the eye could see, right?
Exactly that. Yeah. It was just Chemist and Arco and Ironclad and a whole bunch of engine riggers and a whole bunch of Skyward. So it's just the way you're building your list now is so much different. And because you're building your list differently, the play style is, because on the ships they've now got a limit to how many dudes you carry inside it, which also includes your riggers and your Skywardens. So like back in the day, I used to be able to chuck 18 Skywardens and engine riggers in one boat alongside 20 Arcanauts and 2 Ether Chemists. You know what I mean? I used to be able to do that, and that's why it was called the Clown Car. But now you simply can't do that, and it's the reason why we can't just one drop a big fucking thing and just shoot everything off the board in turn 1.
Right.
That's why the gameplay has changed. Yeah, and also the fly higher ability as well. So we can teleport, but there are certain caveats around that. So if you take if you take up to and more of 7 wounds on your ironclad, let's say, then you can't fly high. You know, so you've got that movement. You've got even more movement than you had before, but you don't have the opportunity to just one strike. So, yeah, yes. So it comes down to just the way you're building your lists, the extra movement you've got now, and yeah.
So they've moved away from spam. This is actually kind of a paradox of Age of Sigmar, because I found that like we tend to spam the quality unit is what makes the list happen.
And that's what I really like.
Paradoxically, KO are more Neapolitan.
Yes, there's lots of different things going on in the list that make it work, and that's why it's really hard for me, because I'm not a very smart guy in that respect. So it's taken me a lot longer to get my head around how the army works again, and how just the general rules work. So it's taken me a bit of time to try and pick that up. But it's good. I love it still. I still love the army. I still love how they play. It's interesting. It's different.
That's really cool. I mean, my read on KO early was like Gary Percival. Him and I have had like we've had conversations on list building and stuff like that kind of before the new KO book. I highly respect I highly respect his opinion on gaming, especially from a competitive perspective. He's a great gamer. And Tom, we're both like, so the book came out, my read was like, oh cool, boats are good, and like you don't spam Arco anymore. I'm like, okay, cool. And that was like my surface level read. I really like the spell bottle. I think it's great. Yeah. Yes, I know you're just gonna be throwing the Skaven vortex in it. Fine, whatever. I'm not upset that like something is great or there's an obviously great thing. That will never bother me. I'm just not a person who latches on to like, oh, this thing is great. Fuck the great thing. Fuck that. Like, I've never been the guy who's just like, no, the thing should be great. Make it awesome. Like, the more awesome, the better. That's my read. But besides that, it was like, okay, well, why are these two people who I would go to for my opinion on this matter? What am I not seeing that they're seeing? And so like when the book first came out, I had this problem where I couldn't quite pin down, what I was feeling with what other people were feeling. Like I still am not. I still don't think I have enough. I haven't gotten enough reps in to like fully refine my opinion on them now, but I've begun to formulate that I think they're good. I mean, I think that maybe they are a bit mono build in the sense that this is the best type of build, even if the moving parts are a little bit different, because as you said, they're more Neapolitan now. It's possible. Yeah, but it's possible that like someone like Gary does take a specific list, or Sean's list, which you already mentioned. He's the one who took first place. Like, maybe now everyone just starts copying Sean's list, right? Like that becomes the list, right?
Sorry, Karen.
Oh, I was just saying, like, so maybe like the list will rear its head, and then like that will just be the KO list everyone's familiar with, and so on and so forth. Or because it's the best way to build it, or it's the most competitive way to build it. But like it has such a high skill floor that I don't think it's going to be suffocating.
No, definitely not.
And so I think because like my read is, I think it's going to be once we hit the pause button and again and like start reality all over again. I worry that people haven't like embraced KO and didn't get their games into like hit that skill floor by the time something new comes out, and then people will latch onto something new, because our game has a recency bias. People tend to chase the new releases. That's not to say, I'm not saying meta chasing. I mean, really, like you're trying to, like, new models look cool, I want to buy new models. Like, so I feel like there's a little bit of a recency bias that causes people to kind of like move around and not put in tons of reps on like just the army for a year. So I hope people don't abandon KO before they've hit that skill floor, because I think that I read it, and my first read was like, this list accidentally kills 5-wound heroes. Like, they just, like, it just, like, accidentally kills, like, Corn is just gonna hate this army. Like, you know, things like that, where like,
yeah.
but I still look at it and I go, you know, I could build a really good list out of this, and I think it would be, you know, this is an army that is going to make waves in the meta, and then, like, everything just stops. I'm like, well, okay, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've cut you off a couple times
Yeah.
there, though. What were your thoughts?
Well, because like my thoughts, like, so for example, like, and I'm hoping that Tom can correct me if I'm getting this wrong. I really do hope he can correct me because I'm not trying to throw shade on him. But he made a comment on Warhammer Weekly when he was on with Paul Conti and Vince.
Oh, that's right.
Talking about
yeah. Oh, that's right. I still haven't watched that episode. I heard it got a little bit spicy. And
It
Paul
did.
Conti said that
Vince
I was what was his? He said I'm the Joe Rogan of Age of Sigmar podcasts, which I thought he was being insulting. when I heard it out of context, like, I thought he was like insulting, like he was throwing shade at me. I'm like, ha ha, shade, and I'm like, no, it was like a compliment. He loves Joe Rogan. I'm like, oh, well, what's that even mean then? Like, I'm not a huge podcast. I'm not. We've got 5 active viewers right now, and this video will probably get about 200 views once it goes up on YouTube. That's not quote unquote Rogan. Sorry, Joe Rogan. Did I call him Paul Rogan? Sorry.
Joe,
anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Like, so Tom said something on that episode.
Yeah. So he said that his problem was that he wouldn't be able to take KO to let's say an event and walk up to a table and say, "I've got this game." What? Why are you thinking like that? And that was my instant. That's what the problem is. It's because that the army doesn't have that list and doesn't have the sort of power that I suppose maybe some people are used to. They can't just auto-win game. And that's a very unhealthy mindset, in my opinion, because then you're not really having a game. You're just winning. You're not having that social interaction, which is what makes Age of Sigmar great. You're just playing a game of competitive magic. Right. You know what I mean? And that was my thing about that. And that's really discouraging to me because that puts people off wanting to play competitive Age of Sigmar if all you're expecting is to get wiped off the board turn 1. I mean, even though, yes, you're out there to win, but in my opinion, a win is way more valuable if you fought for it. You know what I mean? If you are literally making tactical decisions that you're nail-biting over, you know what I mean? Fuck, if I don't get this objective, I've lost the game, or if I take it, I win the game, you know? That's a good game to me. You know, where you're challenged, where you're actually interacting with your opponent, where you're both laughing at the fact that one of you is going to win, you know, all that kind of stuff like that. You know, and I just think
it comes down to that last dramatic priority roll where you're like actually still in it because you know if I win this priority, then I could probably put the game away. But if he wins this priority, then he might be able to get the game. And like, okay, he's won priority. Okay, and then your brain starts racing. Okay, I wanted to win priority because I could have put the game away. Crap, he won. He won priority. He's probably gonna win. What do I do now? What do I do now? And your brain starts racing, and you're trying to come up with like your winning strategies now that you're on the back foot. You know, that like haymakers coming in. That stuff is I love that stuff too. Like, I never want to feel like I'm checked out of a game. You know. But
yeah, exactly that. And I just think that the way that he put it wasn't very helpful, and it didn't really, you know. And he was bashing on Arcanauts. Arcanauts are fucking great. They're fantastic. I love them because you know they are a 90-point unit with range capability with a 4-up potentially rerollable save. How is that bad? I mean, yeah, they're slow, but if you take them in a certain skyport, let's say Barrack Mornar, which I'm a big fan of, you can run and shoot in the first turn. You know what I mean? So you've got all these options to speed them up if you need to. And they're not there to actually really fight. They're there to just hold objectives because board presence is so important in Age of Sigmar today. At least the way that I see it and the way that Sean uses them. And that's why he takes at least 40 of them. Well, because board presence is so important. So then that gives you the ability to push out your ships and your engine riggers and your smacker units to pull apart the enemy and distract them while you take the points.
Well, this is actually this is something that like Ossiarch Bone Reapers struggle with is they don't have quote unquote keep back units. Like I have to march my stuff and trade places with you, and I have to rely on decimating you when I trade places with you. because if I trade places with you on the table and you just like gotcha from behind and like drop stuff behind me or you know summon onto the table, suddenly I'm out of position and I have problems. Like
exactly that.
So I mean, Arcanaut Company, they shifted roles, and I think that's been jarring for old school KO players, and I get it. I mean, it wasn't the same thing, but when LON, when they went in and they just said, no, you don't get to play the army the way you used to play it anymore. You have to take it and redesign the whole thing. You had this like perfect, like that always sucks, especially if you're like a hardcore like diehard player and you want to stick to your army long term, right? Like that sucks. On the other hand, change is fun, folks. Don't fear change. If you're committed to an army and they change the playstyle of your army, they just breathed new life. They gave you an excuse to solve a new puzzle, to not stagnate, to I again, all I ever really want to do is play Nagash. So when he becomes unplayable, I have way less fun. But
Big Daddy Bones. Big Daddy Bones.
That's right. Exactly. But yeah, I don't know.
Cool dude.
But KO is. I mean, I think KO are like an adequate fat middle quote unquote army to use. Since we're using Warhammer Weekly terms here.
Adequate.
You
fiend.
Adequate.
You bastard.
I wasn't done. I think they're an adequate fat middle army that are going to enjoy an inflated part in that bell curve due to the meta. They got the tools to beat all the problems right now, and that makes them awesome. And so like the other thing, and this is just like my like sort of personal part of my personal ethos of gaming, is like commit to an army for a longer period of time, folks. You'll be a better player. When I'm not saying you have to like ride or die KO the rest of your life if you're a KO player, or death if you like death like me. But if you commit to an army for long term, you're gonna learn to play from the back foot, and that is a super important strategy. That's super important for becoming a better player. I mean, you walk up to a table and go, "I should win this game," Like you're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm bringing this army. They've got this army. I should win this game." What happens if you fail every roll? Every charge doesn't go your way. You end up finding yourself in a position where you're suddenly not winning, and you're in a position that you've never been in before because you're supposed to win that game against that army. Well, what ends up happening is you have a decision internally. You may not be aware of it, but you can either play to learn the lesson in that moment, or you can say, my dice betrayed me and I'm fucked. If you see that as an opportunity of growth, of going, oh crap, like this is a new position I've never been in before. You learn from it. You're not going to encounter those situations though if you abandon ship or check out. That's important data. Like learning to play, and then when you learn, like, hey, I didn't know that I could like deploy this guy this way, or well, if I retreat and I go do this, then I'll have that trick. Guess what? That trick now carries with you to the next army you play. But you got to be in those positions to learn those lessons, or you'll never acquire that skill. You'll never. It's like a Saiyan. A Saiyan in DBZ has to get its ass kicked to get better.
That's true.
So you got to get your ass kicked sometimes to like learn those awkward angles of your army. Like play at a disadvantage, play against the things that beat you to figure it out. There's a reason we play the game. There's a reason we still throw dice in Age of Sigmar. And don't just walk up the table, trade lists and go, yeah, I think you win this, and then walk away from the fucking table. Roll the dice, play the game, have fun. And I say that wholeheartly as someone who does believe in counters and strong matchups versus weak matchups, who does think like, in terms, I do think in a similar term to Tom, where I walk up to a table with my gotta get that Zenkai boost. That's right. Is that what it's called? I don't know, man. I just I made a reference without knowing too much about it because I'm not a weeb. Hang on a second. We got an emote for this situation. Boom. No, like I walk up to a table with my bone eddies, or with LON before. I walk up to a table against Nurgle with any game that I have Nagash, and I just like kind of like grin to myself. It's already in the bag. But guess what?
Yeah.
My opponent can use that against me too. I'm
Yeah,
so
exactly.
confident I'm going to win against Nurgle now that it's a problem. Like, you know, so again, I do think in terms like that, but but I know that there's a fallacy to it as well, and the real thing is just play the game and get used to being uncomfortable. You know, get used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah, true.
It's the Mike Tyson. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Like, get punched in the face. See how you react in those situations.
Yep, we have a very similar quote in the military. No plan ever survives first contact.
Yeah, I mean that's practical. I mean that's like a practical quote
true.
too for I mean,
it's very true. But what I was gonna say, because like you made a point there about play your army, and that's I think is what one of the good things about New Zealand is. And well, sorry, it's not a good thing at all. It sucks, but it's the fact that our meta, because I mean there are no illusions. Warhammer is fucking expensive here. I mean, a few of us were doing the math a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was after you logged off of our massive chat about everything from fucking politics to fuck whatever.
World history. I learned that New Zealand. History. What was it? New Zealand was the first one to declare war on Germany or whatever.
Germany. Yep. That we were both world wars, baby. But yeah. Anyway, it's the fact that it's so expensive that guys are very invested in their army, and so most of the time you'll see one guy playing his army for at least a year or two because they're building up the funds to buy another one if they want it. And I mean, like, it's taken me ages to build up my new KO army because fuck, I've owned more armies than I've owned underwear now. But that's just me being the hobby hobo. Yeah, like I don't know. I'll probably have to tell that story now, don't I?
I think you do. I think you got to tell us why you're the hobby hobo.
Oh, fuck. Okay, but anyway, yeah. The New Zealand meta is cool because guys will play their army and they'll perfect time. So the hobby hobo. So I said before, the last couple of years have been shitty. So the mother of my child, she's very unwell. She's got endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, possibly cervical cancer. So she can't work. And so throughout these years, I've made, as well as life problems such as house burning down, whatnot, all that shit like that, a funeral or two, I've gone into debt. So I had to sell armies to survive and to provide for my family as well as working my job. And I started doing commission work, but with my work and with my partner being ill, I couldn't maintain those commissions. So I ended up, trading armies for work, which I kept on top of for a while, but it just ended up not working out. Mm-hmm. So I'm paying my client back, but that's fine. But yes, essentially, it was more of because I'm big on self-deprecating humor. Yes. I like to make for fun of myself, and I like being fucking savage with myself. It's just the way I am. So I was like, fuck it, I want to be the hobby hobo because I've never got an army for longer than a month. And I keep selling them. But no, I've owned this army for at least since the beginning of the year now.
There you go.
But yeah, so that's why I call myself the hobby hobo, because I'm a poor hobo wargamer.
Well, and I think there's a practicality sense of like some people can't like. I mean, you really do kind of like roll with the punches with like what army you end up playing, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I mean, but. Oh, so sorry, because I was gonna say I've owned. Wait, what have I had? I had Nurgle, Legions in the Gash for a very short period of time.
Dreamer, you're just a savage here.
The offer for KO. Tell me what he's saying. I haven't seen it.
He said the offer for that KO army of yours still stands. I'll trade you food for it in potato currency.
No. There's a story behind that. So Dreamer. Actually, no, I'm not going to tell this. I'll tell stories about heaps of horrible shit, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and Kicker here says NZ also has the best rugby. So for those of you listening,
yes, we do. We've got the All Blacks, but I hate sport because I think it's a waste of time. But that's just me. But anyway,
it's escapism
yeah, but
to
no,
me, and sports fans are just
no,
they're just the socially acceptable nerd. That's all it is. You're a nerd.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
dear sports fan, as I'm adjusting my Milwaukee Bucks hat right now, I want to tell you
no, I'm honestly,
out loud, you're a nerd if you like sports. You wear like paraphernalia that gives away your interests. So like someone who wears their weird anime shirt, you do that with other people's names on it. Like think about that. Like say what you will about my fucking Cowboy Bebop shirt. Not a weeb. Mephisto's not a weeb. But like it's just like Cowboy Bebop characters. My jerseys, on the other hand, have somebody else's names on them. That's another tier of nerdery. Like, and then you fucking rattle on for hours about like fucking statistics and win rates and shit like that. I don't know. If you just took out the proper nouns and shit, you could be listening to an episode of The Honest Wargamer. Like,
yeah.
Win rates and
God.
It's you're a nerd. If you like sports, you're a nerd. You might be the socially acceptable nerd, but you're a fucking nerd. All right, sorry, man. Continue.
Yeah, well, because I'm just like the reason why I hate sport is because like so in New Zealand, obviously rugby is our big sport, and it's not like American football. You know, when you guys wear pads and helmets. Nah, we just wear shirts and boots and just smash each other to pieces.
Right, but you also have a lower incidence of CTE and concussions than American football because American football, since they wear all that armor, they have their tackling techniques utilize the armor. And by the way, the armor doesn't stop you from getting a fucking concussion. When you're not protected, you have to tackle the right way.
Yeah. So like for our game, you can't really tackle from about here up. Yeah, you have to do it from there. But it fucks people up. People get fucked up. But anyway, because I'm a skinny white dude. And so my father tried to get me into sport when I was a kid, in particular rugby. And I got fucked up because especially where I lived, where I lived in Auckland, New Zealand, we have a very large Pacific Islander community. And their kids are huge, like big kids. And they just fucking roll me across the field in a blanket and I'll be dead, just split in half. And I'm like, nah, fuck this. I can't be bothered with this. But anyway, I just don't like the game. I just don't like rugby. I think it's pointless. I think it's just a bunch of sweaty dudes tackling each other for a hand egg.
You sound like one of my friends from high school, man. It's astonishing.
Yeah, you have a mohawk. I never had one. So, fuck, this has gone off the rails. But I just don't like sport.
Welcome to RantCast.
It's not my thing. But I'm more than happy to talk about toy soldiers and competitive toy soldiers rather than men playing with hand eggs and not contributing to society. That's my
escapism is a contribution. Come on. Now exploiting the tax laws of a city to put up your fucking stadium and forcing poverty on folks. Now that's shitty, but like just playing sports and enjoying sports. Come on.
I'm fine with casual sports. I'm cool with that. For example, we're getting my son into football, so soccer, in a few months, and I'm cool with that. He probably won't be able to do anything, but he's going to have fun doing it, and I don't care because it makes him friends and it gets some social interaction. But professional sports, there you go. That's my rant.
Tomb King Tristan, thank you so much for the 10 months of subs, buddy. Chat gang.
Hi, Tris. Chat gang. I know what chat gang is, but
chat gang is what I affectionately refer to folks who watch RantCast as chat gang.
Keep watching RantCast. Be the chat gang. Be the gang of chats. Put on top hats. Grab bats. Go beat up other gangs.
Exactly. Well, sub clubs are nothing new, but chat gang, you don't have to sub to be part of chat gang. You just get the emote then if you sub. Chat gang, if you're chatting, you're chat gang. That's it. It's that easy.
Sounds good. But no, you're good. I'm surprised I haven't told many stories yet. It's probably a good thing. Carry on with our discussion.
Tomb King Tristan he's on the show and does not know who Chat Gang is, burn the witch. Yeah, I think I gotta hang up on you right now, man.
Oh, dude.
For the integrity
I'm
of Chat Gang, you must be destroyed.
I'm just southern colonial fucking heathen.
Yeah, there you
coming
are.
from the Empire.
Any shit on sports? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Gladly, I'll do it any day of the fucking week, mate.
No, it's cool. You actually said something earlier on. We're talking about competitive play here. You mentioned that you don't like the term competitive, casual, blah blah. Everyone plays to have fun, and I want to go into that a little bit deeper because I love that, because person who gets like they're a competitive player, quote unquote. Well, how do they have fun? Winning or testing themselves against other skilled opponents, or theory crafting a list and then trying to prove that it works and it wins games. Like, competitive players, even amongst people who identify as competitive players, have a breadth of reasons why they play the game, but they can all be distilled down to that's how they have fun. Yeah,
exactly that.
And casuals have fun too, and at the end of the day, everyone's playing the game to have fun. And so I think that's Sean the non-believer. This is an inside joke, apparently. Oh, Sean the non-believer. Sean the non-believer. I'm sorry, I had monitors over there. You're right, Sean the non-believer. Chat gang, spam. But yeah, so competitive versus... That's me. I feel like you relish the heat, though. Like, you enjoy
I
the
do.
heat.
I love being hated more than I hate myself. It's fantastic.
There you go. That's the secret, right?
Carry on, yeah.
My story before I dropped out was at practice, and my mate in college got his arm broken in a friendly practice game. That's...
What was that?
Just reading a chat there from Dreamer. Talking about a friend breaking their arm in a friendly practice game of Age of Sigmar, obviously. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that they rolled those box cars and they just like tweaked their arm in such a way. Yeah, definitely AOS.
I've never heard of this story. I've never heard this story, but I'm keen to, because I want to laugh about it. But Dream is the Kiwi. He gets what I'm saying most of the time, because I find it that probably a lot of Americans understand nothing of what I'm saying, because we've got weird slang and whatnot. Different
slang and like social dynamics of conversation and stuff too.
Yeah, we do.
It's interesting. I see, but even though we're sharing a language, we're speaking English, right? Oh god. So here's a different nerd tangent. I was an English lit major. I love language. Oh, yeah. I love language. I actually really enjoy. Like, I'm fascinated how language evolves and how it's different. Like, we're both speaking English, but you can say sentences with words I know, but can't fucking understand. Like, with the way you put them together. I'm just like, yeah. I know that was English. I recognized all of the words there, but in that combination, I have fucking no clue. Yeah. And I find that utterly fascinating. Like, I love language. I love interaction and, Yeah, interesting to me as well. It is interesting to me as well. Just for figuring out where our accents even came from is an interesting one. For example, I was watching, what was it? Geography Now, the shitty YouTube channel, which is actually pretty good. It's actually got some good insights. And they got heaps on the New Zealand episode wrong about different dialects and different accents. And he was wrong. Because there's a subset of New Zealanders way down south, the Yokels of New Zealand, down in way down in the base of New Zealand in a place called Invercargill in Southland, and they speak with an So they'll say, like, for the hometown, we say Invercargill. Fine, right? Mm-hmm. They say Invercargill or Gore, stuff like that. So they've got like a wee Irish twang. And it's fucking bizarre. And I've got a guy that I work with, and he talks like that, and it's like, oh, God, stop speaking. But it's fine because it's the way it is. It's just interesting to me because in that part of New Zealand, that's where a lot of the Scotsmen and the Irish went because it's cold and wet and shitty. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh fuck, it's just like home. And
And then you get up in the north, who are just a bunch of poncy fucks. People don't know.
Say Waka Papa or Waka Papa. See, I've
Pardon
got
me?
Dreamer says Mephisto say Waka Papa. So I'm Midwestern. I'm gonna have that
No, he means say fuck a papa. So the way that in traditional Te Reo Māori, which is the language of the natives of New Zealand, a W and a H is pronounced as a f, so an F. So whakatane, whanganui, whakapapa, that kind of stuff like that.
Oh, see, we have a lot of like a lot of native towns. So it'd be like, you know, our various tribes,
yeah.
you know, we got like Chippewa and Oconomowoc and even Milwaukee is so like a lot of the, and the one of the rolling jokes in the United States is that only people, how do you tell if someone's from Wisconsin, is they know how to pronounce the towns in Wisconsin. Because nobody fucking
mate's from north. Sorry, carry on.
No, just all of our towns are either named for like the natives and the tribes and stuff like that, or they're named by French fur traders, and like that's it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, in New Zealand we've got tons of Māori town names because obviously New Zealand is very big on our indigenous culture, which is great. You know, I think it's fucking fantastic. I like it. Yep. So like for example, in schools we learn. Kids learn Te Reo Māori. I mean, I don't know barely enough to actually hold a conversation, but I know some important key phrases and words. But yeah, no, it's cool. I like that.
Well, I
interesting.
One thing you mentioned is like, so there's like a southern dialect that like their accent grates on your nerves. One of my German friends, and this has been corroborated by a couple like other German chat gangers there.
Yeah.
That apparently there's like a southern dialect in Germany where they just like they can't stand their language either. And so, and of course, then we've got southern like sort of we've got the southern sort of the redneck, and really all I'm hearing is that every country has rednecks. And
so in the case of southern Germany, I think he's talking about people from Bavaria.
Yes.
Because there's actually two different dialects in Germany. So there's Hochdeutsch and Bleibdeutsch. And they're two different, they've got different ways of speaking it. But yeah, so like a lot of Germans I know refer to Bavaria as North Austria because they speak very, very similarly to Austrians. Yeah, there you go. There's a bit of a
if you want to piss, so Kicker, if you want to piss off someone from Waukesha, it's pronounced Waukesha. Say Waukesha instead. You just you'll just watch their eyes turn red. It's amazing. So say Waukesha, Waukesha. But
New Zealand definitely has its rednecks, not to the extent of system sort of thing. It's more of a actually no, I lied. There probably are those. Hills have eyes, motherfuckers, you know. But no, it's mostly just farmers. You know what I mean? Because New Zealand is an agricultural nation. You know, we've got farms. Like for example, where I live, there is a farm right across the road, and there's a farm on the other side of the road. You know, there's farms fucking everywhere. I mean, like a lot of our population lives in our cities, but there's farms fucking everywhere, forests everywhere. New Zealand is a green place. But South Island is mainly agricultural, so mainly farming and tourism because we've got big Alps. Oh, you shot Lord of the Rings there. Let's go there, and they go down there and take pictures of Rohan flag and shit.
I have to know how you said Eau Claire before because Eau Claire that's one of the easy ones because that would be the French fur trade. Eau Claire would be it means clear water, right? So. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of our townships. Sorry, Kicker here has just moved to Madison and is 100% confirming what I said about Wisconsin town names. Took me a month to say Eau Claire correctly. See, Eau Claire is where I went to college, so I went to UW Eau Claire. When in doubt, go to Stout, and if you can't go there, go to Eau Claire. Except Eau Claire's got the better test scores. Fuck you, Stout.
college for you guys is like your university, right? So it's like after high school you go to college and
Yes, yeah. Well,
get
I
a
mean,
degree?
you can choose to go. Basically, you sort of
Yes.
the American progression is like you go to you finish high school, which is 12th grade is your senior year, and then you have a decision point. You can join the military, go into trade school to try to become like an apprentice. You can go into associate's program, which is also kind of where you might do trade school or nursing or something like that, or you can go to university, and the military will pay you. Everything else you got to pay for. So
Fair enough.
so that's
Yeah, it's a bit.
that is by design, I imagine, because we would rather you join the military and then just come and work as a country, but
I don't know. Because like I'm in New Zealand, so like obviously we've got our normal schooling. I mean, kindy, primary school, which is your kid, small kid. Then some people go to intermediate, which is it's like 11 to 12. So you only spend 2 years there. And then you go to high school for the rest of it until you're about 17, 18. And then you either get enough credits to go to university, in which you have to get into heaps of student debt, or you get a scholarship, or you just go and do whatever.
I'm happy to know that that's the same. I mean, I wish I could go back and rather than my grandpa actually stopped me from going into the military. I don't know that I've told this story on RantCast, but I think I told you. No, I graduated right when Afghanistan happened. And my grandpa's a Vietnam veteran. He was actually a sailor. What he did is he drove the boats in for evac. So that's what he did. He drove the little like the fucking pontoon boats, whatever the fuck they are, the skivs. For driving through fucking swamps because it's just one big swamp. So he drove and he drove evac. He found out I was going to go into the Air Force because I had the test scores and everything.
Smart man.
They get paid more money to stay on the same basis as other people. Also, I've always been obsessed with space, and like for a small period in time, I thought coming out of high school even though I've only ever wanted to be a writer, there's that small part of me that was like, if space travel becomes like ubiquitous, it's going to be the pilots that get to do it. And I'm like,
yeah,
hell yeah. So like so that's what I thought. And my grandpa called me up basically in tears. I've never heard this man cry. I guess he's cried twice in his life. Once when I was born, and once when he found out I had just talked to the recruiters and taken the test. I was about to go off to the military, and he called me and he said, "Don't do it." I got to put it in perspective that I'm the oldest of all the grandkids. I was the firstborn. The story goes that when I was born, he walked around the hospital going, "That's my grandson, and carrying me around. So my grandpa's one of the coolest dudes in the fucking world too, by the way. I think I get the gift of gab from him because he is just a shit talker. I mean, he's a fucking sailor. Like, and then when he was done being a sailor, he came and he became a road sailor, which is a trucker. So he's just like, my first cup of coffee was from that man when I was like fucking, I don't know, man, like 5 years old or something like that.
Good dude.
So I used to actually sit in the truck and pull the horn and just blast, bam, bam.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, he actually stopped me. So then I ended up going to college instead, and did the FAFSA thing, and so that's what I did. Good. That's kind of my story. But I think about going back and redoing it because the heaps of debt that I still have. I'm fucking 35 years old. I just bought a house and I have like fucking debt up the ass.
You own a house, man. That's better than me. I don't even own a functioning laptop.
Do you know how I did it though? Do you know how I did it? I stopped eating avocado toast. It dawned on me, if I didn't eat avocados, I could buy a house.
That's all I put in place.
Yeah, that's what
Stop
it was.
eating avocado.
Yeah, I'm like, if I buy cheaper beer, none of those lame ass IPAs, and I don't eat avocado toast, then I just, as soon as I found that out, I just like, boom, house done. That's how easy it is, everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly that. Stop doing all those frivolous things you like doing, and just buy a house, team. I mean, it's really hard to buy a house in New Zealand right now. Actually, well, actually, no, I lie. It depends on where you're buying. So if you're buying in any of the major centres, you're going to have to shovel out a lot. To the fact that, because I mean, I'm trying to get posted to Auckland at the moment. Auckland's about, 6 to 8 hours drive north from where I'm living right now, and my son lives up there with his mum. So I haven't seen him for about 5 months, and so I'm trying to get posted up there, so I can be with him. And I'm never going to be able to buy a house up there because up there the average house price is about $1 million.
Jesus.
$1 million New Zealand. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what the
about
conversion
$1 million
rate on dollar reduce to U.S. currency, but $1 million that's amazing.
About 600, maybe 700,000, maybe American. If you're, I don't know. That's me pulling numbers in.
Oh man, yeah. I don't. $1 million of anything is too much.
Yeah.
$1 million of anything.
Way too much for anybody. I mean, So
that's like
I'm never going to be able to
like
afford
That's like 3 more armies, man.
I know, right? Especially New Zealand. Fuck, maybe it's like 2.5 armies. Yeah. Well, it's things that I discovered an amazing thing, which has allowed me to build this glorious KO army that I own, is there's a thing called Afterpay, which is fantastic. So I pay so it's split up into 4 payments. Every fortnight you pay a quarter of the price, and you get it instantly. You get the stuff and you just pay it off on a monthly basis, which is great.
No, kicker. It's okay to buy coffee. Coffee is American. It's that lame, weird avocado toast that comes over from California with their weird surfer hipster-ness or whatever the fucking issue was. For those of you in New Zealand who are clearly watching the show, one of our news programs said that if American millennials could afford houses if they just quit eating fucking avocado toast. That's the joke I'm working with here.
Was it Fox?
Yeah, duh. Duh.
It had to be fucking.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, we're gonna get into really
freaking
deep
Rupert Murdoch's not ours. I know he's not New Zealand's either, but I feel like you're guilty by association. So,
no, we have the likes of Mike Hoskins, Duncan Garner, who just shit on it's no illusions to the world right now that we're winning in the COVID fight. So for 3 days we had 0 cases this week, and 0 confirmed cases. We had 1 case, but that was actually confirmed weeks ago. They just hadn't actually confirmed it. So she's recovered,
basically.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure we're at 95% of all of our cases have actually recovered. And unfortunately, we had 21 deaths, but that's out of almost 1,500 people that actually got infected. So now we're actually starting to... Yeah.
How many deaths does New Zealand have?
21 all up.
21, not 21,000, 21.
No, 21 people.
So,
and that's mainly because we locked down really fucking quick, and we nailed it on the butt. I mean, 4 weeks ago, we had 80-something cases a day. And then within a couple of weeks, it just went boom, 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 because we locked down, everything was locked down, and we've beaten it. We've fucking beaten it. And so, but things that Duncan Garner and Mike Hoskins, they're shitting on the government, saying that they're inept, saying that it's tyranny, all this kind of shit, pretty much parroting what American conservatives are saying in the United States and trying to put it into a context here. But it doesn't work. We don't have the same governmental system.
So
it doesn't fucking work.
So
we have those guys here too. Don't worry. We have right-wing dicks here too. I shouldn't say right-wing dicks.
I don't. I've said before, I'm cool. I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, or otherwise. I don't like it if you're stupid.
And that's the thing.
I don't like it. So the anti-vax movement. There are the political spectrum is a fucking circle, not a line. there are people on the far left and the far right that are both anti-vax. One is,
Yeah,
fuck you, no
we're
government
thinking
can
here.
tell me to vaccinate my kids. And the other is, they cause autism. You're both stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that's just,
we're the
that's
same thing here.
That's not politics. That's just, you're stupid. And then, like, you have to, like, make it political by saying conservatives and liberals and herpy-derpy-derp. Like, come on. But, like,
it's the same thing here, man.
Like, that's my thing. Like, I would love to like, have actual conversations with, like, I have conservative friends. Like, I seriously do. Like, we have, like, but I have, like, a lot of reasonable conservative friends where, like, we have conversations about taxes and, like, and we just disagree on, like, how they should be allocated and, like, and stuff like that. It's like, but we don't disagree about, like, weird fun, like we don't disagree about, like, I don't know, people should be alive and, like, you know, like, we don't disagree about, like, those things. It's better to not murder a bunch of folks, like, and we don't, like, disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
have you heard about the 5G thing?
Oh gosh, man! I love a good conspiracy theory, by the way. So like we're about to become like. I love conspiracy theories. Like, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. I love them.
It's funny as fuck. So there's been links. Okay, so there were crazy people with absolutely baseless science, and they keep saying on the Facebook, you know, so like, according to scientific research, and then you look at the scientific research and it's been debunked by actual scientists, and they're saying that that 5G causes cancer, makes people's brains explode. What was another one? That's right, and that it caused COVID-19. And so people in New Zealand have been going around burning down cell phone towers. People have been doing this in New Zealand. They've been burning down 5G towers.
That's a hell
thinking
of a leap.
That there's some... Yeah. No, honestly, they are fucking going nuts. And they're burning down towers. They're spreading shit about 5G. And it's like, dude, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You're literally complaining about 5G from your 4G phone. What the fuck is your problem? And they're all just going nuts about it. And I don't get it. But no, yeah, we have our crazies here too. We really do. It's just that most of us tell them that they're idiots and to fuck off. Yeah. And that usually works. But
I don't know. I don't want to go too deep in politics here.
No.
People listen to RantCast and not have to think about this shit.
Sorry,
like I don't know. I think that I don't know how it is in New Zealand, but I think successfully having made everything a political issue has meant that we can't even talk about. I mean, look at the reality is, like, COVID-19 is going on. It's a public health crisis. The entire world is dealing with it. Apparently, New Zealand is just fucking a rock star. 21 deaths compared to our approaching 89,000 in America. No, there's a lot of factors in that.
There is.
The fact that, like, essentially, like, I don't know, Australia was on fire, and I know it's New Zealand, but you get some sort of residual tourism too. The fact that Australia was on fire shut down tourism during that, essentially, like, that incubation period, right? So
tourism is a massive part of our economy, a huge part of our economy, and we're feeling the brunt of it. We really are economically, but the government's rolling out stimulus packages will hopefully bring us back, not to where we were before, because New Zealand's economy was doing great before, but no.
But no, we talked about, like, the fantasy escape, and, like, I think that's pretty sacrosanct. Like, if dear chat gang, if you wish to know all of my political opinions, all you have to do is just, like, watch any one of my streams. Like, I just get triggered and, like, and just swear into a microphone for, like, 1 hour. It's or apparently just get me in Discord after RantCast, and I'll just stay up until 6 a.m. just sputtering nonsense.
That was a good chat.
It was a great chat. But it was interesting because, like, I mean, that chat had, like, a spectrum of people on the political thing. It's like, I'm like, oh, we're just having reasonable discussions right now, and, like, we disagree with each other, but I don't, like, disagree with you as a human. And I feel like that's what like politics have become. Is like I can't even agree with you as a human now because you believe in this thing that is different politics than my politics. And that's fucking crazy to me. Because it's just people. It's just fucking people. Some misguided people, some misguided in a different direction, and nobody fucking 100% knows everything on anything. So the rest of us are just acquiring information, changing our opinions as we go. Best night ever, says Fluke Skywalker. But yeah, but going, so yeah, like let's go back to our fantasy escape. Is that fucking Hobbiton written on your forearm there? Is that like some sort of like the One Ring language or some shit?
What, my arm?
You have a tattoo on your forearm.
Oh yeah, that one. No, this is from years ago. So I actually used to be a religious person up until a couple of months ago. I used to follow the Asatru faith, which is based on Norse paganism. And I was a part of a community of the religion, which is actively anti-racist and anti-Nazi. It's called the TAC, and they're actually based out of California. And there are a lot of great people there, fantastic people, really welcoming to anybody, because the way that we thought of it was that the gods don't give a fuck about what skin color you are. They don't care. You know what I mean? But anyway, beyond that, yeah. So essentially, it's a religious text. So, but it's an Elder Futhark, which is Anglo-Saxon rune, and it says, "For those I love, I'll sack." And I've got the old Mjolnir here with horses, because my unit's cavalry. Well, sorry, cavalry. So yeah.
Oh, that's pretty rad. That's pretty.
I wish I had a Hobbiton tattoo, because then I would really personify New Zealand in our image.
Right. So how much, you mentioned like New Zealand's population, like how do New Zealanders feel about like the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings? Are you like prideful about it, or do you just like hate hate it all? Like you just like, why is this our identity now? Oh shit, he cut out again. No, he's coming back. The Tango Monster knows anything on everything.
I'm back.
Welcome back. That was fun.
Yeah. So sorry. So you were asking me something about New Zealand's population.
Yeah. How does New Zealand like being associated with the average New Zealander? Not like the country, because obviously tourism is money.
But I think does he embraced it as a joke.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, because one, I mean, like for one, it put us on the map in regards to our scenery, and just the fact that New Zealand is, and hopefully will continue to be, a beautiful country. I mean, yeah, we've got our issues with pollution, don't get me wrong, but we're actively working to curtail that. I think we just take the piss out of it, because that's just the collective New Zealand personality is that we take the piss out of ourselves quite a lot, and we like to make jokes. So, like, whenever you see something, and for example, there's a YouTube channel called How to Dad, and it's a Kiwi guy. He's actually quite popular, and he does dad stuff, talks about parenting and stuff like that, but it's all Kiwi, really Kiwi. And he makes Hobbit and Lord of the Rings jokes all the time. But yeah, so we collectively just take the piss out of it, and we don't really care, because it's cool. It's Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Fine. I don't mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like Flight of the Conchords was highly like self-deprecating too. Like there was a lot of self-awareness in that humor.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, that was
fantastic
Kiwi humor all through.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic.
And if you watch anything made by Taika Waititi, it's all Kiwi humor. I mean, it's all that dry, really weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Explains why I get along with like folks from the upside, with all the demigorgons from the Upside Down so well.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I love this one. I'd fuck one. I don't know about you.
Demigorgon?
I don't know where I'd fuck it. Hey?
I mean, so like, I feel like head from a demigorgon could go either way. They could be the best or the worst. Like, because teeth are a problem in general. Like, teeth are a problem for like in general in oral sex. Like, a demigorgon might be awesome at oral sex, or the worst, depending on if the demigorgon has figured out how to curl its, like, lip flaps.
Yeah, just chuck it in a dress and some, and some.
See, I just got debated into my guest's sense of humor there, everybody. I think Overlords are...
Yeah, no, I'm doing a pretty warped sense of humor.
Yeah.
That's just kind of...
Yeah. I think that Overlords are best for AdMech kit bashing. AdMech being Adeptus Mechanicus. Is that 40k talk?
You know, the thing is, like, you see that quite a lot because obviously they do share not. I wouldn't say that they share a lot of the same design philosophy, but they kind of do, purely with the fact that it's all technological and there is no skin apart from maybe those weird priest dudes. I don't know. I mean, like, the most I've seen is probably head swaps. So like the Admex Katari with their hooded things and their face masky, whatever. Yeah. No, I think it's cool. Please do. I think I've seen something like that. I think I had. Yeah, it'd be sick as.
Sorry. Sorry. What I was saying is like, Vanilla, no, I haven't seen your KO and hazmat suits. Go ahead and toss up a link there in chat so I can check them out. And then I mentioned Bioshock conversions would be pretty metal. And then I mentioned that that I don't really have any temptation to play 40k. But like, if you know, in a multiversal theory sense, like, say I go to answer my phone one day, and the 40k community is just the AOS community, and the AOS community is the 40k community. And like I'm like, well, fuck this. I'm not playing with these assholes anymore. Even if my favorite stuff is all in Age of Sigmar, I would jump over to 40k, and I would get rid of my Blood Angels armies, and I would play AdMech. I haven't looked. I tend to be a competitive player. I don't know how fucking competitive they are. I just know they look so fucking metal. I will make them competitive.
Yeah.
Like,
competitive.
That whole
competitive
tech.
40k. Sorry, Karen.
That whole tech priest of Mars, like the fucking Dune, like vibe. Like, it's not like where KO are very aether punk, like very like aether magic punk. Like tech priests. I'm sorry, AdMech are like pure cyberpunk. You know, like it's so fucking cool. And then they throw in like religious robes and stuff with the like the classic punk. Like the robes might as well be trench coats, man. Like that's how punk it is. It's so fucking radical. Such a big fan.
Camera. I'm just plugging my. Sorry. So my phone's sorry. I have to charge my phone. I'm keen to keep checking. Keen to keep chatting, but I am such a hobo that the charger port on my phone is fucked, and I can't afford to fix it or replace it. So I've got this old wireless charger that my mate gave me about 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm about to elastic band it to it and stand it up on its, on the top side, so it can keep charging while I'm talking to you. So hold on a minute. I'm just going to turn off the camera for a minute and keep talking.
All right.
If it'll work. Off. Why is it doing this?
Dude, where'd you get these?
Sorry, I'm still here.
I'm looking at Alex's. Alex's KO real quick here. Where'd you get the hazmat helmets? Because those are pretty freaking metal.
Oh, I think I've seen this army.
All right. Anvil Industries, right on. But yeah, I don't Yes, the rules of AOS and 40k are different. We talk about the shooting meta in Age of Sigmar. It's here. That being said, Age of Sigmar is a game of combat.
It is. It definitely is.
It's a combat game.
Yeah.
And 40K is not. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it.
40K, I wouldn't say that, because there are a lot of assaulty armies out there, but I mean, like, yes, a lot of the game is spent shooting. But with the same vein, though, I mean, you are always going to get into combat in that game. You almost will. I mean, that's my experience from playing it.
It's a very macro game, though. Is really like what I'm trying to get at. Is it's
it is.
It's a very macro game, like zoomed out. You do the big move. You go in. It reminds me, like, it feels a little bit more like an RTS, where like you're just making you have these big macro plays that are essentially, you know, your stratagems and stuff like that, where you're gonna like. Sorry, what I meant to say is, like, what's 40K? It's the games are different enough. They really are. And Age of Sigmar, when it gets right down to it, I like the mythic fantasy. I just taste wise, I like the mythic fantasy. Me too. Even if the communities were the exact same communities and the games were exactly the same, just with different skins on them, I would still lean towards Age of Sigmar. That being said, Age of Sigmar has the better sculpts and more fun gameplay. So, shots fired. 40K, suck it. Nothing against you if you like 40K. I'm not here to yuck your yum. Go ahead, love what you love, but 40K sucks.
I love that. Yuck your yum. I fucking love that. Yuck your yum. That's beautiful. I'm gonna take that now and take it to work on Monday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
so I'm back at work.
Get your Mephisto-isms. Like, get that shit trending in New Zealand.
I've already got enough for work now. I'm gonna say some horrendous shit at work on Monday probably. Well, I always say horrendous.
Sounds like
which sucks. So because I'm,
No, go on.
No, I was gonna say because probably the weirdest thing for me is that, and it's actually pretty cool because I've actually because I don't hide the fact that I'm a nerd. I don't hide the fact that I play Warhammer. You know, like, guys ask me, so what did you do this weekend? Oh, I painted some models and played some games. None of them go, ooh, like, you're such a nerd. They go, oh, that's cool, bro. You know, none of them care, and that's really refreshing. You know, like, if I said that back in fucking high school, guys would be like, ooh, what the fuck? Let's beat this kid up. But to be fair, I'd be the one trying to fight them anyway because I was an angry kid. But yeah. But anyway, no, it's cool. I like it. And the funny thing is, because like even today, because I'm in a leadership role, I'm always spying out for the nerdy ones. Who here plays? Who of you can I convert over to Age of Sigmar? Yeah, and I've met a few. You know, I've tried to get them into the game. It's worked a couple of times, so including Dreamer down in the chat gang before. Got him into the game. I'll give him shit for that. There's my random thing.
Vanilla, Alex here says AOS was one of the best ways for me to make friends after moving countries.
Yes.
And I think that's true. I said earlier on that I've made more friends in, well, now I guess it's like 2 years of tournament play. 3. I'd have to do math. I don't want to do math. But the truth remains, like, one full calendar year of tournaments, and I made more friends than I'd ever made playing just Age of Sigmar than I ever had in, like, the rest of the 35 years I've been a nerd, basically. Like, just you make friends, you're familiar. Like, I have like familiar relationships with most people in AOS, but then like you have that like icebreaker of Age of Sigmar, and then like you start to meet people that you really resonate with, like Tomb King Tristan, for instance. Like, he's a big basketball guy, and so it's like I met him because of Age of Sigmar, but then I find out he likes basketball, and like we have a deeper relationship. And you know, like I find that happens with Age of Sigmar, where you play Age of Sigmar. That's why RantCast is the way RantCast is, because like I love Age of Sigmar as a fulcrum, as the central point, but I like that nerds are diverse and they go beyond this one interest, And Age of Sigmar especially
Yeah.
feels like the community where you just like you meet people who love Age of Sigmar, and then you start to really resonate with people who like who just jive on those like other levels than just Age of Sigmar. And that's what's beautiful about this game. Is
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I've met guys who are musicians because I love music. I've met heaps of guys that are into history because I'm also really into history. Yeah, all that kind of stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's a great thing. But the thing is, here's a wee story. So Sean Tubman, when I first met the guy, things that you look at him and you cannot tell that he's a fucking nerd. You know, he's this big, muscly Adonis dude, big fucking beard. He's a builder. You know, he drinks a lot. You know, he's a really great guy and everything like that. And like, I remember the day that I saw him walking up the stairs into our old local game store here. I was like, oh, he's gonna beat me up for my lunch money.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey man, I'm Sean. I'm like, oh hey buddy. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. So you know, there is no set demographic of nerd, really, in my opinion, because you know anybody can be a nerd, and Sean's just the perfect show of that. I fucking hate him for it.
He hides it though. Well, I think a lot of us like nerd culture has shifted. It's only recent that nerd has become popular.
Acceptable.
Yes, acceptable.
Yeah.
It's this is a recent development. Now it's hip to be a nerd. It's very recent. This is a transition that happened in our lifetime. But if you're a nerd around the age of nerds who play Age of Sigmar, like the primary demographic is probably mid to late 20s up through like 50s, right? Like that's you're older. You were old enough to have been a nerd when nerd wasn't cool. So there was some shame associated with being a nerd. You had to hide it.
Yeah.
Or be ostracized. So I hid that I was a nerd. When you met me, I was the punk kid, you know, who said, you know, like, I was the cool new kid in school. That was the most anyone ever got to know. I went to 6 different high schools. I was always the new kid. So I was just the cool new kid that nobody knew anything about. This helped people from ever discovering that I was a giant fucking nerd. And so I got to hang out with, like, the slightly cooler outcast crowds because, you know, fuck squares. But, you know, now that I'm older, like, cliques seem really funny to me. And when I was younger, I'm just like I was constantly living in cliques and stuff because people do just judge you like that and they put you in a box in high school. That really happened. But as the cool new kid, quote unquote, cool new kid, I really wasn't that cool. But, you know, as the new kid, people are still sizing you up. So,
like, I was always the nerd kid, but I was the angry nerd kid that got into a lot of fights. So I didn't really towards the later end of high school, no one really fucked with me, which I feel really bad about. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to have that social interaction, and I had my friends, and I had my nerd friends, but I was always fighting and being a dick. You know. But I was always that nerd who was into Warhammer, and I was never ashamed of it. I never hit it personally. I
was never ashamed of my nerd stuff, but it took a while for people to catch on because I didn't broadcast it. It wasn't until college that I really settled into my nerd persona. Like that was like college is where like I joined Gamers Guild and a club called Otaku Anonymous or OA, which is that's the Weeb Club, and that's where my moniker comes from. Is actually that Weeb Club. Because it's Otaku Anonymous, so nobody knows your real name in Otaku Anonymous. So you're nobody the first time you go. The second time when you go back, essentially, then you get your nickname that you're known by. The thing with your nickname is you submit to them a nickname you would like, and then they vote on whether you have it or not, or they change it. So somebody like, for instance, wanted to be known as Iron Man. Well, their full nickname became Iron Man after Master's watch. Because one guy's nickname was Master, and he was wearing a watch called Iron Man. So the guy's nickname is Iron Man after Master's watch. Because you can't be known as something cool like Iron Man. So then his nickname...
It sounds like a fucking cult!
Yeah, and so his nickname then became AFMAS. Instead, so it's not cool. Well, my full nickname, my official title, and it's like a Tribe Called Quest or a pimp named Slickback, the whole thing every time is the Magical Mr. Mephisto because it sounds like a magical bunny rabbit. So the second time I go to this club, Yeah.
What is this? I'm just the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, so the nickname I submitted was Mephisto because I was huge into Diablo. There was an anime called Demon City Shinjuku where the one character in the red trench coat, his name was Mephisto. There was a Commodore 64 game that I really liked called Mr. Mephisto. So I said Mephisto, and then Mr. And then my friend Neil, his nickname is Neil before Zod, by the way. He goes by Neil. That's his nickname. He goes, well, he should be the magical Mr. Mephisto, and like that. So that's the joke. So.
Fair enough.
So I'm Mephisto.
Yes, fair enough.
So yeah, so that's how Mr. Mephisto actually came to be. So fast forward several years, Twitch is becoming a thing. This is right off the surge of Justin TV. They've switched over to Twitch. I am as a chatter, I'm known as one. I had a different name, so now I decide that I don't want to just chat and hang out with communities. I want to actually be a streamer. So I thought a long time, and then I realized I should just go by Mr. Mephisto, the nickname I've had forever. So it's not a self-gloss. And then Vince gave me the other moniker, which is the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar. So that was Vince.
I always wondered where that came from.
You don't know where that one comes from? That comes from the OBR episode. People were throwing shade at me in the OBR episode comments and stuff, and we had a private conversation. And he just joked that I'm the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar because of my crazy opinions. I'm gonna say something and you're not gonna like it, and it's gonna make you feel shook and uncomfortable. How's it going? How's it going, Eggs?
Hey.
So now that you know the secret to where my name comes from.
I know the secret.
You know the secret,
of
yeah.
Your weird anime loving cult and cult.
Meph's not a weeb, yo. Not a weeb.
Okay.
No, see, that's the thing. I'm not a weeb because I don't know shit about anime anymore. There was a period in my life where I did, but in order to be a full weeb, you have to be the actually guy of weebs. You have to push your glasses up and say, well, actually, and then correct me on anime, and I don't know enough about it to do that anymore. There was a time where I watched a shit ton, but I've already seen the best anime ever made. It's called Cowboy Bebop. I don't need to watch any more anime.
I've only ever watched one anime series full to its completion, and that's Evangelion Neon Genesis, and that's the only one I like because it's fucked up, bizarre. I like it. Yeah. That's me.
Well,
that's the only I never really got anime. It just isn't my thing personally.
But it's just a TV show. It's animated, but I was already watching worse animated stuff when I was a kid, TMNT. Fucking love TMNT. Go back and watch the old TMNT
Unbelievable!
Old Thundercats episodes. They're not well animated.
Yeah, man. I grew up with that shit because obviously as I said ages before, my sister's a little older than me, so I grew up with old 80s Transformers. If you remember, what was it, Dino Riders, where they had those dinosaurs with big guns on them and shit like that.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, I grew up with that. Yeah, I grew up with it. It was great. Fantastic. That's why I fucking hate the Transformers movies today. I cannot stand them because in the first movie I was like, "Where the fuck are the Energon cubes? Where is it? Nowhere. You're fucking lying." Yeah, that kind of shit. And Shia LaBeouf's a cunt.
No, Professor Xavier says his first anime was Ninja Scroll. I watched. I rented Ninja Scroll from Family Video, because the Family Video in town had an anime section, and it was fucking radical. But no, I had the first anime I saw was probably like Robotech / Macross. Or Galaxy Express. Were I to have stayed a weeb, I'd have been an old school weeb, I was in a VHS mailing club, for fuck's sake, where we mailed each other VHSs of anime with fan subs. That's how fucking deep nerd I went with that shit.
God, that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a VHS fucking years.
I've got some laying around here in my office, and I have so I've got the I don't know if you remember this, but like there's the gold box of Star Wars VHSs that came out, which were like the kind of the first re-release of Star Wars, but it still has Han shooting first. And so I've held on to those like they're fucking contraband because Han Solo still shoots first in them, and any DVD you fucking buy, they've ruined that scene. Yeah, they've ruined
I don't know,
it.
man. It's all bizarre. Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. Good on you.
Yeah,
I wish I had that.
Yeah, like
Vindication.
I think a lot of people got into anime directly because of Cartoon Network, though. And I think that's where most people like, my age trace their lineage. And I was the slightly older guard than that, though not as old a guard as like my uncle or like some other folks who are like hardcore into anime. I don't know. I don't want to say I grew out of it. I just you gotta waste a lot of time with anime to get the good anime because it's not like it's such a broad category. It's like saying I like movies. Well, okay, cool. Like I fucking love movies too, but like there's a lot of shitty movies. There's a lot of shitty anime, and to like you got to be part of fandoms, and you got to like have people tell you what's good, and you got to import it, and you read manga so that you're ahead of the curve and shit, and like and then you got to get hipstery with who's got energy for something like that? Now, excuse me, I'm gonna go paint for 40 hours on one model while I judge other people's interests.
Yeah, I was gonna say before, the way that I'm painting these KO, Vince Ventrella would have a fucking heart attack. I'm telling you now.
Why is that?
Oh, well, it's a hard one because like I'm a speed painter naturally, but I cheat a lot. But I know that I could do a lot better with my painting if I just spent more time on them. But I just, for some reason, I can't. I have to get them out the door as quickly as I can. So the way that I dry them is I have a heater up on my bench right there, and I dry the paint like that, and I jump on. Yeah, it's fucking horrible. But my army doesn't look too bad in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot more I could do with it. It's just over there. But yeah, I think he'd fucking hate me.
No,
sorry.
See, Vince wouldn't hate you because he'd be happy that you're painting, and I think that's really there. He is. There it is. Any painted model is better than an unpainted model. I don't hate you at all. You summoned him by saying his name 3 times to chat gang there.
Summon.
Yeah. No,
I actually own an airbrush. My mate Seth, Goon Boss, he actually gave it to me for free. But actually no, not for free because I've been painting all the shit. Because he doesn't like painting apparently, and so I paint his armies. Yeah, I know, but I just haven't really gotten either the time or the will to really use it yet. I mean, I probably will once I move. I'll have more time to myself with the new trade I'm going into. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And yes, Vince, I watch all your painting videos. I love them. You're a fucking god to me. Good work. Keep doing it, please.
Yeah, he's little does any no, I think I've already told this story a couple times on RantCast, but treat every episode like it's somebody's first episode. So the reason RantCast mostly exists is because it's a complicated story I won't get into, but the format for RantCast is me just ripping off Vince Venturella's first half hour of the show and just making that 3 hours. The part where they don't talk about the subject that they have, that's my favorite part. And the hard part is trying to have a subject that allows me to not talk about the subject, like KO. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for listening to us not talk about Kharadron Overlords all night on the Kharadron Overlords episode.
Hey, we've talked about KO a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right, man. I am going to have to wrap this up. I have a Soulbound related engagement to get to. More on that later, everybody, if you want to see some Soulbound content coming from me and some others. If folks want to follow your journey through several armies in a year and so on and so forth, or maybe find out more about how much you love KO, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, so at AOS Homie Stump, or just look up the Hobby Hobo. Other than that, you can join up on the Kharadron Overlords Facebook page. Just search up Kharadron Overlords Age of Sigma and you'll find us. We're the biggest one. And if you do, please, for the love of God, answer the question in the comment because a lot of people don't and I reject them just because we don't answer the question. But yeah, no, you can find me on Twitter and you can find me on Facebook. And I'm more than happy to talk with any of you about KO and stuff.
Right on, right on. And is there anything you want to put on blast? Anything you want to shout out?
I'd like to shout out to Notorious Age of Sigma, the podcast. It's run by, as I said before, my good friend Sean Tubman and his and the other Sean, Torm Bates or Big Sean. They do great stuff. They talk a lot about the New Zealand community and a lot about the gay game in general. They're both masters level players. They're fantastic dudes. Give them a listen. They're on Podbean and iTunes. And also the Ethercast too. Listen to the Ethercast if you're interested in Kharadron Overlords.
Yeah, very, very focused content there. Like, I see 2 seasons, every episode, Kharadron Overlords. Come on. I mean, that's if this is your army, you're going to get some really deep insights. I see you, Tom. I'm coming. All right, guys. I gotta go run session 0 for Warhammer Weekly Woe Strength Rant Soulbound. I don't know. It's a bunch of content creators. We're gonna do some Soulbound stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. So I gotta go do that session 0. Next week will be session 1 actually, and we are gonna stream that. So I guess I just self shouted out there. Good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Chat gang. Thank you so much. You're the show within the show. You're the reason we do this thing. Thank you so much. I'll catch y'all later.